This is the Vision 79 podcast, where myself, Mason, and my friend Sander discuss recent developments in our business and personal growth. The name Vision 79 comes from our respective racing numbers. Sander's is 40, mine is 39, and we have similar ambition to progress in business and personal growth. Many successful people have started small, just like us, but very few of them have documented their early years. They often say they wish they had, and given we believe in learning lessons from others, we intend to be the first to document our journeys from start to finish. This is simply an documentary of our lives, and as such, we do not monetize these videos, so enjoy the ad-free content. Each episode is broken down into 3 segments, each covering our progress over the past week. We start by discussing our life updates, then our business updates, and lastly, we share any lessons we've learned over the past week. So what life updates do you have this week?
Life updates. I did not go to work at all this week.
That's an awesome life update.
So nice. Yeah, so no NASA, no work. I got a phone call Friday morning from one of my coworkers wondering where a part was.
Uh-huh.
And luckily I was up. Like I just happened to be awake. I had just woken up and I saw the phone ringing and I picked it up. But other than that, nothing work related.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Um, and additionally, I had a nice restaurant work date with Sammy yesterday.
What's a
Like,
work date?
it was like working on our laptops. We went to the it was like the restaurant was called like Sand on the Beach or something like that.
Had to count as a date? I gotta take
Yeah,
this.
well, we're doing volleyball today too.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So
It was actually really funny.
count.
It did count as a date,
Nice.
and then I came up with like a really good like offshoot idea on our way home, and she was like, "We got to do that."
What was the offshoot idea?
Um, it was a pizza place she pointed out that she really liked,
Mm.
and she's always wanted to do volleyball, like
Yeah,
always,
volleyball.
yeah, volleyball. And I was like, "Oh, that'd be fun, like pizza and volleyball."
Mhm.
And she like latched onto that. She's like, "We got to do it," because she's going to Peru for a week.
Got it.
Yeah, I found out about this like middle of last week.
Is that when she found out about it?
Yeah, she decided on like Tuesday that she needed a vacation, and by Wednesday she had texted me saying that she's gonna go to Peru next week, and she's leaving on Tuesday.
She's so funny.
Yeah, crazy. So she decided on Tuesday that she was gonna go to Peru, or said she needed a vacation, and then by Wednesday she had already booked her flight to Peru, and that's when she told me she's gone for a full week going to Peru.
She's so funny, dude.
Yeah, she already like booked the climb she wants to do and like where she wants to go and all that stuff. She's already got it figured out.
She could probably have a full career in like trip planning, like
Yeah.
excursion planning. You know, there's people that do that. Like one of my coworkers did this. They paid $10,000 and it's like an all expenses paid trip through Italy in that region of Europe
Oh
for like
yeah.
a week. Um, they cover airfare, they cover the hotel booking and like everything, and then they'll show you around and speak the language the whole time. She would
Mhm.
crush that, dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. She's good with the spontaneous plans. It could be like a spontaneous adventures
Yeah.
and like you'd book with Sammy for whatever country. But
Oh, that's so fun. You sign up, and then like at some point during the year, she's like, "Next week, block your calendar. We're going."
oh, yeah. I was thinking kind of the other way, like someone tells you they want to go to a country and then it's like
Oh,
she just plans it and then it's a surprise.
that works too. Both are fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah. Anyways, she's going to Peru next week. So
Sweet, dude.
she was like, "We gotta do it, we gotta do it." And I was like, "This is a great idea for after you come back from Peru." And she was like, "No, we're not gonna have a date next week, blah, 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 blah." So we're doing volleyball today.
Gotcha.
We're doing volleyball today.
Cool.
But yeah, that'll be fun. Pizza and volleyball. I will be definitely hungry by then. So
Is
that
this
helps.
Bizarro's and the volleyball courts?
No, it's not Bizarro's. It's a different place. It's like a smaller place. I didn't catch the name on it.
It's Evola? It's beachside, right?
Yeah, I didn't catch the name, so
Gotcha. No
I
worries.
don't know. Um,
I'm a big pizza and volleyball guy myself.
yeah. I thought it was a cool idea, and
Yeah.
so did she. So now we're doing that.
Yeah.
She's inviting some people, got some people together.
Cool.
But I had that, and then my biggest life update, which kind of ties into the business stuff, is the conference I went to. So that was in Orlando at Gaylord Palms on Monday through Thursday. Friday, I had off.
Right.
There was no conference on Friday, but Monday through Thursday, Gaylord Palms. And I'll get into that within my business update and stuff. But
Cool.
that was a ton of fun, super cool. Not perfect in every way, but there's like there's like certain high leverage points, and then like the other stuff is kind of filler. And like the high leverage points what makes it like overall worth it. You know what I mean? So it's like not every moment was like super crushing and awesome, but
This is coming off the heels of Hormozy's $100 million money models book launch,
oh yeah,
which every second has crazy value in. So it's like you're comparing with like probably the greatest presentation you can be calling into maybe ever. So
yeah.
it's
No,
compare.
the presentation aspect, it did not even come close to the quality of presentation from the money models launch. I mean that launch was just like on another tier.
Which is hilarious because the slides aren't complicated. They're
No,
very fundamental.
it's just like he just knew the slides and the pitch
Yeah.
so well.
Yeah.
Like that's what really killed it,
Yeah.
and like just the story arc and like every single point was thought through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Every touch point of that launch was just like spot on.
Right. Well, and he didn't just read off the slides. Like I have a lot of
Yeah.
people at work, and myself included sometimes if I don't prepare properly, but like when I craft slides for a presentation, I put everything on the slide because I want like we present and then we deliver the slides for review later.
Mm,
So it's like all the data needs to be in the slide, but then I need to be able to say it in a way that makes sense in the moment because you're not going to read all that shit in the 30 seconds that the slide is up.
yeah.
So it's kind of like the inverse of Hormozy, where it's like simplified on the slide and then you listen to what he's saying because, you know, you don't have to his goal isn't to deliver the slide deck to me and have me understand it on my own 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Which is what sucks about like actual work.
But that was awesome.
Mhm.
Super cool. Those are about the only life updates I have. Put 700 miles on the Miata this week.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Going back and forth from Orlando?
Yeah. Yeah. One of my lessons learned is stay in Orlando.
Yeah.
And I'll get into that.
It's just expensive, dude.
It was just, I was trying to save money because, upgraded my ticket and whatever. And I was like, I'll probably be fine. Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Stay in Orlando.
Yeah.
And so I booked my ticket for the event next year.
Mhm.
It'll be in Las Vegas.
Got it.
So
You drive back and forth from that one every day?
probably. But actually, I met someone in e-commerce. Oh, and I had dinner with him and his dad. Good guys, doing well. They're doing e-commerce through Amazon. Like Amazon, they have their own products and then they just sell through Amazon.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. And they are based out of Las Vegas. So when I go to Las Vegas, we'll be able to see each other. That'll be cool.
Right.
But yeah, I booked my ticket. It'll be at the MGM, which is kind of cool.
That is
Yeah. And hopefully it's fun,
Mhm.
but that's kind of like my life update. Most of my stuff comes in, but like I tied in the conference to business.
Gotcha.
It's
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
esque.
I had something kind of similar, but I just like pushed it all down into business.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, okay.
What do you got?
For my life update,
Mm-hmm.
heavy one, dude. Debbie Downer.
Oh really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this was so what I was trying to figure out whether or not to talk about this because we're not a political podcast, right? I don't really consider myself to be a highly political person.
Yeah.
But if I'm talking about my life this week, like you have to talk about it, right? So for starters, this week was 9/11, which
Yes.
is always very heavy for me. Um, I come from a family of military members and I work myself on, you know, defense projects.
Right.
So my work and my family comes from a background of patriotism. Um, I wrote a lot of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Association's essay contest growing up to get scholarship money for college. So I have close ties to veterans in that sense, and I'm just very patriotic. So 9/11 always hits me really hard every year. Um, Not just thinking about the event itself, but then also all of the work that went into, you know, finding and bringing justice to the people who did that in the 2 decades following, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that stuff always hits really heavy. But then on top of that, um, you texted me, so I blame you solely.
Oh yeah, I did text you first.
You did.
I did, yeah. Because I found out, so it happened during the conference,
Yeah.
which is something I'll get into too. Um, and I was like, I thought it was fake. Like I thought it was AI. Someone next to me like turned to me and they're like, dude, like Charlie Kirk got shot,
Right.
and I was like, no way.
Have you seen the video?
No, I still haven't watched it. I won't watch it. I won't watch it.
I've talked to a couple people about this because everyone who has seen it recommends that people don't. And I actually have it saved in my
It would
phone.
probably be better if I honestly did see it. I just like really don't want to.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
And I think that I think it's best if you don't.
Yeah.
The people I've talked to who have seen it always recommend that people don't see it. And I actually have it saved in my phone to show to people who take it lightly
Yeah.
because it's easy to brush these things off and joke about it. If he's not someone that you particularly cared for and liked, watching it happen makes it very, very real.
Yeah.
And showing someone and then telling them, the noise scared his daughter and she ran toward him because she was scared of the noise when it happened is what really grounds you.
Yeah.
And so I have it saved. I haven't had the conversation with anyone yet. Because fortunately, I think I surround myself with mostly good people. So I haven't encountered anybody who has tried to like make light of it or, you know, say that he deserved it or anything like that.
Yeah. I've seen some people online who have said that.
Right. So like, well, and what's worse is that I've seen people online who have seen it. They've watched the video and they're still, joking about it, which those people are despicable and I'm not going to engage in conversation with them anyways. But
Yeah.
for people who like, there's several people I know from, just out and around town who I've seen them post things on social media that are kind of fence sitting. Like this was September 10th. So September
Yep.
11th really fucking sucked for me.
Yeah.
I went to an event that I'll talk about in my
It was
business
September
update.
10th. Yeah.
Yeah. But they had I went to a September 11th ceremony and they talked about it there too. And so like that whole event was really heavy,
Mm.
for me. But even at that event, there were people who were like, drunk and kind of like, giggling around and not taking it seriously, which I understand. We in SGA meetings would, get drunk and like snicker and joke around at things when it was
Yeah.
serious for other people. And so I understand it from one sense, but it's very personal to me.
Yeah. I think that this is by all metrics that you can measure, this is more serious than an SGA meeting too. To be
Yeah,
fair.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, man, so there was one there wasn't there like a 9/11 thing in SGA or like a Middle East thing or something that we laughed at real hard. It was the award ceremony that we were invited to at the at the end of the year. I can't remember what we laughed at, but I remember feeling like an asshole for laughing at it.
I
Uh,
don't remember that. I remember the girl who came up on stage. She was part of the like the diversity like club or whatever, the
Yeah.
diversity community club, and
Yeah.
she started with shalom, and we were both hammered and thought
Yeah.
that was the funniest shit ever because
Yeah.
everyone else in the audience thought it was weird, but we
Yeah.
also thought it was weird, but we were also drunk,
Yeah.
and so like that combination was just like so funny.
Yeah. There was something else too. Like we had made a joke and then she said something that was bringing the joke to life and that made it extra funny, right? But like we got in trouble at all of the SGA like I got direct messages from the president and the dean that were like, you'll be removed from office if you don't keep it together during these meetings. And at the time I was like, oh well, I'm just laughing. Like, what are you gonna fucking kick me out of office for laughing, right? And now
Oh, I remember the thing.
what was the thing?
It was the girl, she was using she was doing storyboards on the slide deck,
Uh-huh.
and she had a storyboard of 9/11, and like she was tying that into like her story club, and like the transition was so abrupt between like her club and like it was so jarring and abrupt, and it was like meant to be like serious, but it was just like the contrast was like what the fuck is going on.
Right.
It's like it was just like mind-boggling, like
Right.
and the problem with that one was what made it way worse was that she was standing in front of us when she was presenting. Do you remember that? And we were trying to hold it together. Yeah, everyone in the audience had turned to her, and we were right behind her trying to like figure out what the fuck is going on. Dude, yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
So like,
Feet were sweating that meeting, man.
the number
True.
of times I've had to lock in and like
Yeah.
I think I have to think those words to myself. Even today, when I'm trying not to laugh about something, I have to think, lock in, bro, keep it together. Like fucking
Yeah, it wasn't like obviously 9/11 wasn't funny. It was the contrast between where she was and what she went to, and then her storyboard on the slides was like, when you're drunk, it's like if something isn't like at a first grade level, it becomes unclear.
Right.
And then when it becomes unclear and everyone is looking at you
Yeah.
and like feeling awkward about it, it becomes funny. And that was that situation, except like all eyes were literally like on us behind her.
Yeah.
And so like that combination was just like horrendous. That was the longest 3 minutes of my life.
She was presenting in the seat in front of us.
Yes.
She didn't go down to the front and talk. She was presenting from where she was sitting and we were behind her.
Yes.
I remember that.
That was the terrible situation.
It was terrible.
0 out of 10 would not right.
So I have sympathy for people, you know, who laugh at these things because comedy is the way that I cope, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I'm okay with people laughing at tragic events because that's how people get through them, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I can laugh at 9/11 jokes because I recognize that it is a serious tragedy and it impacts me personally, and I don't have to take it lightly all the time, right?
It's different to make a joke to get through it and versus mock it.
That's
Right?
exactly true.
Yeah.
And it's different when it was 25 years ago than 35 minutes ago.
Yeah.
That's different too.
Yeah.
And like even at the 9/11 ceremony, like it's easy for me to be like, okay, you're not in the mental like you are not properly framing it in this moment. You're not reading the room, right? You're not giving it the attention and respect that it deserves. And when you're at a military ceremony, you should, right?
Right.
If you're in an SGA meeting, maybe make some jokes
Yeah.
in your head.
Or it's like the same thing with like anything that like you can look at tons of examples that were like tragic when they happened and then like given time were funny. For example, like Harambe, when that whole thing went down, like people were like really upset about it, especially the people who were like there.
Yeah.
But like, dude, there's got to be like 1 million plus Harambe jokes online at this point.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And I mean a lot of those jokes are like they're lighthearted, like remember Harambe or all this happened because Harambe died. That's the timeline, right? But at the same time, if you take that joke and like, you know, get to its core, it's like, no, people actually really cared about this event. And so this meme exists to remember this event because it's important.
Yeah.
And this is different. Like there are people,
100%.
you and I have mutual acquaintances who have made posts. There was a school shooting at the same day in, I think, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, also tragic.
Yeah. And they 8 people passed. It was 6 or 8.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was dialed in completely on the Charlie Kirk assassination and manhunt. And they were making posts about, you know, oh, like, you know, Charlie Kirk was a hateful person who promoted gun violence. And why are you posting about him instead of these kids that died at the school? And, you know, I take not offense, but like I have a problem with that statement because I have seen a lot of Charlie Kirk stuff and I don't think he was a hateful person at all. And now watching even more of it after his passing, I can say confidently that he wasn't a hateful person.
Yeah.
Explicitly the opposite.
I think I see the argument from that perspective, but like I come back to that argument and I go, there are people who pass away in really tragic ways every day, and we don't directly mourn their loss.
Well,
right? It's because you're distanced from the loss, right? And so it's like with Charlie Kirk, like that's someone who like had a very like impactful resonance on like my political perspective, as well as like just someone else to listen to for another view, or maybe I agreed with him on some stuff, disagreed with him on some stuff, especially when I was like starting to listen to him. And then like as I listened to him and other people, I was like, oh shit, like there's more and more stuff that I enjoy about what he says that I personally agree with.
Right.
And so then when he passed, it's like it felt like, you know, like, oh, like that was someone who was like super integral to like some of my thought beliefs and my formings in my earlier years. And it's like to see someone like that pass hits a lot harder because it's someone that like I actually felt like I knew a little bit.
Well, and you related to him.
Yeah.
Like you look at him and you go, oh, there's a lot about him that is like me. And that happened to him for being like me.
Yeah. And it's also like, you know, to the people that kind of like compare it to the school shooting, like I understand where they're coming from. Those people don't have the same reaction when like, you know, some terrorist attack happens in India, you know, which probably happens often. Right. And it's like, and probably the people on the camera are like, what are you talking about? And it's like, well, you know, and like, that's the point. It's like, it's like kind of thing happens continuously, and people react based on what they are closest to emotionally,
Right.
right? And so, it is sad, it is devastating. There's so much suffering around the world that's incredibly sad, but like what you put your attention to is a factor of what has influenced you throughout your life.
Right. And innocent people die every day, and that's tragic. As is the school shooting that happened. And
Yeah.
the parents of the kids that died in that school shooting probably are not up to date on the latest Charlie Kirk assassination manhunt updates, right?
Probably not.
Rightfully
Yeah.
so, because their kid should be, or I feel is likely to be more important to them than Charlie Kirk is, and they have an absolute right
Yeah.
to feel that way. And if you, as a person,
Their children should be more important than Jared.
I would hope so. I would hope so.
Yeah.
I have taken this event as an opportunity to try to push the Hormozy perspective of like trying not to use the word should. Um, which is
Got it.
difficult for me because I feel that, like, there are some things that I feel are blanket statements that people should feel.
Yeah.
And so, taking Hormozy's frame and applying that has been kind of challenging for me because sometimes I'll catch myself saying should, and I'm like, oh, Hormozy wouldn't say should. And then I go, well, I kind of feel like it should. Like, your kid should be more important to you than Charlie Kirk. But at the same time, it's your life and your kid. And the fuck, there it is again. You should be able to feel like whoever's more important to you is more important to you.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah, that's
paradox.
kind of tricky. I haven't thought about that, so I'm
Yes.
not going to comment on it because I don't know if I could apply it.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, those parents rightfully are closer. But
Right.
someone who's in my position who didn't know the kids or the teachers or the shooters or the parents of the kids who were killed in that school shooting, and equally maybe didn't watch the Charlie Kirk show, his podcast, or any of his prove me wrong events. You're in the same position as all these other independent third parties. So, it's okay to ask from a point of curiosity, why are you posting about Charlie Kirk and not the school shooting? The problem is it's spun with the negative shit beforehand, where the implication is you shouldn't be posting about Charlie Kirk because he wasn't innocent and he deserved it. You should be posting about these kids because they were innocent and they didn't deserve it. But saying that Charlie Kirk deserved it, I have this quote written here. I've seen it all over the place. It's someone who is basically implying that Charlie Kirk deserved to die, which I don't think is true. But the phrase is, well, wasn't he pro gun? And then didn't he die? Did he say that he was pro, like, we're going to have to lose some people to gun violence to keep our Second Amendment? Implication being he didn't deserve it. That feels real similar to a lot of people as well. What was she wearing after a
Yeah.
girl's been raped?
Yeah. Right. Right.
So there's a horrific like implication there. And then when you call people out on that, they'll backpedal and defend it. And I haven't had the chance to talk to this person about it yet. I'm sure they know who they are. Um, but it's just sad to see people not take what I feel Charlie Kirk stood for and apply genuine curiosity and questioning to these types of situations. Because like it's a valid thought experiment. I took a lot of time to think about, well, why are people posting about Charlie Kirk and not the school shooting and not about the Ukrainian girl who was killed on the train last week and not the older gentleman who was decapitated at a hotel like 2 days ago? Did you see that?
I didn't see the decapitation. I saw the Ukrainian girl.
There's CCTV footage of it happening, the whole thing happening. Also, his wife and kids were there. It's disgusting, right? And like, why aren't you posting about that, right? So like, why you person who's posting about Charlie Kirk and the school shootings, why aren't you posting about that? And the answer is like, how close are you? How important is it, right? Like, if the person closest to you, your dad, boyfriend, husband, brother, died on the same day, you wouldn't care about any of this other shit, right? Because it's the person who's closest to you.
Yeah.
And I wasn't particularly close to Charlie Kirk. I've never met him. I would watch his stuff occasionally, but I wasn't subscribed to anything. I didn't watch any of it
Mhm.
religiously. I disagree with him on a lot of his like fundamental points, right?
Mhm.
And I agree with him on some of his other ones, right? I agree with him on the gun stuff. I disagree with him on the abortion stuff. I disagree with him on religion. But like ultimately what I agree with is the fundamental meaning behind who he was, which was everybody is allowed to have their own opinions and everybody should talk about them together because if you don't stop, then that's when violence happens, right? And the sad part is that he didn't stop talking about it. Other people were talking about it, and the person who committed violence didn't.
Mhm.
He didn't talk about it. He was alone and isolated himself in the internet, in 4chan and whatever other fucking meme boards,
Yeah.
and that's why that happened.
Yeah. Is it's hard to it's hard to figure out tactically. My thing is like, what do you do? It's
From
like,
here.
yeah, like,
So I thought about that too. And part of the reason that I decided to put it into my podcast sheet this week is because I think that what you do from here, I mean, firstly and foremostly, especially with it happening the same week of 9/11 always makes me feel like I should go enlist in the military because that's how I express my patriotism. Is
mhm,
like I want to give my life for this country, right?
right,
But you know, I think that with what I am capable of offering, I am of more valuable. I am of more value to our country going to work and doing the engineering that I'm doing than
yeah,
actually going and holding, you know, holding arms in other countries.
yeah,
But I think that what most people can do moving forward is to talk about it more in an open state. So not arguing and not accusing, but just talking, like just
yeah,
asking questions and then sharing your opinion, even if other people don't agree with you, right? Um, I have seen a lot of videos online of people, saying like there's so many people that felt that like they were close to someone of their political party or not even a political party. There's some people who don't subscribe to a political party, but like they were close to someone, and then that person started posting celebratory shit about Charlie Kirk's assassination, and now they're distancing themselves from that person because they didn't know that's who they were.
yeah.
There are people being outed and losing their jobs for this. It's fan fucking tastic that people are making these tweets, and then there are people on TikTok and Instagram who are dedicated to finding the people who made these tweets in real life and then sending these tweets to their boss or going to their place of business and then putting up a poster with their tweet in the front yard to get people to raise awareness that that's who owns this business. Um, and I think that's fantastic because it's people being held accountable for their actions, right? Like if you say hateful shit, we're not saying don't go to this person's business or you should fire this employee. But what these people are saying is, hey, here's who's really working for you, or here's who really owns this business, right? Now you make your decision. And
Yeah.
I would argue that the majority of people are making the decision that they don't stand with that.
Yeah.
Um, and to me, that's something that I like to see. Um, I think the real answer though, and this is what was, most surprising, and I hate to say it, but the answer to the question of what do we do now is not rioting and looting. That's
Fair
not
point.
happening, which is equally great to see, right? There's more
Yeah, isn't
vigils,
that funny?
there's more vigils and mourning than there is riot and looting.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any riots and looting. I've seen some altercations. I've seen some small physical altercations at vigils, but it's mostly people coming in, disrupting, and then being detained by police, which is
I went to a conference that was largely conservative,
Mhm.
very largely conservative. And it happened at the conference, and there wasn't one fight or one person yelling out there or
Right.
someone upset. Like it was like it was sad. It was mourning. Everyone was, or a majority of the people were really upset.
Right.
Um, but no one, no one went through the Gaylord and just started breaking shit.
Right. Exactly.
There's plenty of stuff to steal at the Gaylord if you're curious, right? I didn't steal anything, but it's just like,
Right.
if people wanted to cause a hassle, like they could, you know?
Right.
It's like $1,000 shit everywhere you walk,
Right.
right?
Well, and
The Gaylord.
yeah, it really puts into perspective like how bad I don't see peaceful vigils happening if Trump was killed when that shooting took place.
I also don't know. I think there's a sect that wouldn't be peaceful, and I think there's a part that would be. Um, I'm not sure, but I just think overall I've seen a lot more like peaceful vigil style
Yeah. Dude,
situations come out of
even even
conservative
better,
side personally.
even
Maybe I'm distorted, but
I don't think so. I don't think so at all, right?
yeah.
I mean, it speaks for itself, right? Um, Even better than the peaceful vigils is I've started seeing people on TikTok pop up. They're bringing their white folding tables out and writing questions on poster boards
Oh yeah.
everywhere,
That's
right?
awesome.
Which is so good to see. And so far, everyone I've seen making those videos, it would be so easy to take your white folding table and put something like, super antagonistic on the poster board and then fucking argue and hurl insults with people, right? You know, Charlie Kirk is not like the follower base of Charlie Kirk is not exactly who Charlie Kirk is, right? He is the founder of that movement for a reason. It's because he's different. It's because he's very well read. It's because he's a self-trained bait artist.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who follow him aren't so articulate or aren't so well informed. And as we've seen from Charlie Kirk's videos, when you're in a debate with someone or not you, but like when a person is in a debate with someone and they run out of arguing points, it's not uncommon for those people to just like devolve into insults and yelling,
Yeah.
and then they walk away. And it would be really easy for someone who has followed Charlie Kirk to bring out a folding table and a poster board and then start arguing with people and like hurling insults, right?
Right.
And that was my concern is that, okay, now everybody's going to start doing this and then like, there's going to be so much more arguing and violence and it's going to suck. But so far, the people who I have seen who are making these videos are bringing the exact same kind of energy that Charlie Kirk did, where it's like, hey, I'm open to hearing your perspective and I'd like to share mine and I'm not here to insult you.
Yeah.
And that has been really good to see.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's a lot of really good people out there.
Yeah.
And there's incredible people on both sides. I've heard some arguments from the left and the right where I've been like, I don't know about that. And then, I've heard arguments that oppose my current set of view. And I was like, shit, like I don't really have a good rebuttal for that.
Right.
So
Well,
it's just important to have a conversation.
what's interesting to me is that like I really love having an opinion and then hearing a point made against it that I don't have a rebuttal for because it's not actually changing how I feel. It's just a really solid point that I don't have an argument against. So like, I am not religious. I do not believe in God.
Right.
I'm not sure if I believe in the Big Bang. I don't know how we got here, right? But the interesting thought experiment that I don't have a rebuttal against is that religion requires the belief of something fantastical and magical that no one can explain, which is the existence of God and how he created the universe, right? And then equally, the scientific evolutionary theory has an also fantastical, mythical, unexplicable like miracle that you have to believe in, which is the Big Bang.
Yeah.
And so we like both of these opposing viewpoints have to believe fundamentally in the same thing, which is something inexplicable and miraculous happening. And I don't have
There's a
to
great
rebuttal against
comedian that does a skit about this. Have you seen it?
which comedian?
I can't remember the name. Very funny though. It's exactly what you just went over, but
Oh,
it's
really?
done like on a skit. Like
That might be where I heard it
it
from.
was very funny. I thought that maybe was where you were
Yeah.
taking it from because it was so similar. I was like, I wonder. Yeah.
Right. But like that perspective and that idea doesn't make me believe any less in evolution and in my scientific fundamentalism, right? But it does make me aware that there's holes.
Mhm.
And I really like that. And Charlie Kirk's debates brought that out in a lot of different ways and then opened my eyes to others. One of the ones that I have written down here, I saw this after he passed. I'm watching a lot of the stuff that's like, here are his best and worst moments. And, of course, all of the worst moments that people are sharing are out of context, and the full context is a different story entirely. A popular one is him saying that, unfortunately, there have to be some gun deaths to preserve the Second Amendment, right? Which on its face sounds like him saying it's worth people dying for me to have guns, but that's not the case at all. The full statement is him talking about how the point of the Second Amendment is to, defend yourself from a tyrannical government. And that is so important at at the core of the foundation of America that it's worth having the gun violence problems that we do in trying to manage those, because that is a worse thing to have than being crushed by
Yeah.
a tyrannical government. Right?
Well, I mean, also you get down to the nitty gritty of it, and you realize that the states with a higher percentage of people who hold guns have less crime and violence.
Right. Well, okay.
So, I mean, you can get down into the gritty details of it, So it's
yeah.
it's
I
interesting.
mean, there used to be shootings at airports, and why does that not happen anymore? Because there's armed guards at the airport, right?
Yeah.
That applies everywhere. Like, why do people do school shootings? It's because it's one of the only places that you can go where no one else has a gun. But I digress. His point there is taken out of context, right? And the full
Yeah.
context is well rounded. So I'm making an effort to go through and watch as many full context things as I can.
Mhm.
Actually, similarly, I saw the other day that the CBS interview with Kamala Harris that was edited and then Trump filed a lawsuit about, the full 60 Minutes episode uncut has been now released to the public, and it's like horrific, dude. It's so bad.
Oh,
It's so
really?
bad. Yeah, it's
Oh,
really
man.
bad.
Good
Um,
entertainment.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. But it also is a example of the power of editing and how you need the full context to understand what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Why podcasts like Joe Rogan's are so popular, right? And ours with our 30 viewers. two of them are future Mason and future Sander. But um, one of the things that I got from Charlie Kirk, and this is something that I saw after he passed, had to do with religion, because religion is something that I don't subscribe to. I'm okay if other people subscribe to it. It doesn't really bother me. It only bothers me if someone else tries to pull me into it, right? Like there was a funny comedian saying something about this, which is like, it's okay to have a dick. That's fine. But you can't whip it out in public and then like drag it all over my face, right? Like you can't pull me toward it. Don't fucking do that, right? Have it, keep it on your own, right? And I've never like there was once a time that Grace and I went to the Tampa aquarium, and then while we were walking in, this lady came up to us with a flyer, and she was like, "Has anyone told you that Jesus Christ loves you today?" And so Grace and I were like, "Wait, get the fuck out of here! No, what are you talking about, right? Like we're not religious. Thanks, go away." And she like was very persistent. Um, and so Grace and I joke about it all the time, right? Like,
All right.
if either one of us is having a bad day, the other one comes up and is like, has anyone told you that Jesus Christ loves you today? Because it makes us giggle, right? Um, and like, I always thought, that lady, she's just trying to get people for her church. That's no problem. She was probably a little too persistent for being in the public courtyard and people who are minding their business and aren't interested, but to each their own. She didn't, harm me or anything like that. But a phrase that Charlie Kirk used was, if I had, you know, $30 million, right? And I wanted to give it to as many people as possible, I would go door to door and like try to convince you to let me give you a huge chunk of this money, right? And, like imagine that I have all this money, but you think I'm a crazy person because you don't think I have this amount of money, right? And there's nothing I can do to prove to you that I have this money, but I want to give you this money. That's what like Jehovah's Witnesses are like. Like they're going door to door because like these people who are religious genuinely believe that they have the power to save your soul
Mm-hmm.
by introducing you to this. And so by people being persistent and going to your door and asking you for all this, it's genuinely them saying that they care about you enough that they want to help you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's helping in their own way. And that was a really powerful reframe for me on that lady from the Tampa aquarium, where I was like, oh, she wasn't like just, I mean, okay, she wasn't just harassing us. From my current frame at the time, she was
Right.
harassing us. But
Right.
from this new frame, I'm like, oh no, she's genuinely doing what she thinks is
No.
the
Yeah.
right thing.
She's
Trying to
coming
help.
from a very honest place.
Right, she's
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
help me.
Yeah.
Um, and that was a really powerful message that I took away from him, and one of the best things that I've found so far in watching all of his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to cap off this segment, is a quote from Chris Williamson that I put on my Instagram the other day, because a lot of people were talking about, um, the like, what really bothered me is all the shit that was talking about how Charlie Kirk like spread hate and was a violent person and disliked people and wanted people to die. A lot of the pro LGBTQ whatever,
LGBTQ.
those people on my Instagram were like, oh well, he didn't want me to live, so like why should I want him to live? And I have yet to see a single thing that stands there and to reason that. I haven't seen anything from Charlie Kirk that says he doesn't want those people to live. I've seen lots of explicit content from him saying directly, I care about you as a person and I have a heart for you. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how all religious people that at least I've encountered genuinely care about the people around them, regardless of their beliefs or where they're at in life.
right.
Although they can disagree on every single thing that said person does with their lives, like
Right.
they do genuinely care, because the fundamental base of religion is that every life has value because it's created in God's image.
Mhm.
And so therefore it's like you are like told and compelled to like care about the other people around you. Like that's the fundamental base.
Right.
So to claim that like someone who's like actually religious and follows, let's say Christianity, make life easy, like to say that some Christian wants you to perish is like either they're not Christian or you're mistaken. Like
Right.
it's one of the two.
Right. And I think more often than not with the things that I'm seeing now is that they're mistaken. And it's
Yeah.
because they aren't familiar with Charlie Kirk's work. They haven't looked into it. And they aren't willing to. And so I put this quote on my Instagram. And it's Chris Williamson's quote that goes, resist the desire to have an opinion on everything. Your
Mhm.
expertise is narrower than you think, and the world needs more signal, not more noise.
Yep.
And so I took that quote to heart because, of course, I had an opinion the second it happened, right?
Mhm.
Even though I wasn't as informed as I am today. And it was difficult because I felt very strongly right away. And then I intentionally refrained from making any posts or any comments or talking to anybody about it until I could gather more information to form a well-based opinion. And then I had second thoughts about whether or not to talk about it on the podcast because I wasn't sure if it was, something worth bringing up. Like now, you know, Americans have shown us that you can be killed for having an opinion and saying it out loud. So by exercising the First Amendment, you can be killed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a scary thought. I remember we did the episodes 39 and 40,
Yeah.
and like one of the questions I think each of us got asked was, um are you going to be the type of like are you going to be the type of person in your future who tries to like is really, really present in the public community and has a lot of security, or are you going to be the one that lays low and tries to hide under the radar, right? And like I feel like that discrepancy, like that decision is um highlighted by recent events,
Right.
because you can really see like who, what can happen to you if you choose to fly above, right? Even though Trump, with the best security in the United States, quite literally, like was subject to an assassination attempt like this, and didn't take his life, but Charlie Kirk's it did.
It could. Yeah.
And so that side of things is like something that, at least like this, the Charlie Kirk passing has made me think about that more.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like it's just crazy. You can be killed for having an opinion on something.
Right. Well, and ultimately,
It's wild.
when I was considering not speaking on this, I was like, we're not a political podcast.
Yeah.
This podcast, I want to be a reflection of who we are today.
Right.
So if you
Right.
go back and watch some of our previous videos, we are not the same people today as we were in those videos because
Oh yeah.
time has gone. A man cannot step into a river twice. It's not the same river. It's not the same man, right? We've
Yeah.
grown. We're different people. But I don't want to refrain from speaking about things on this podcast that are a part of my life because that's what this podcast is supposed to
Yeah.
be.
It's a documentation. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, that was what was urging me to speak about it in face of the threat of being killed for having an opinion and speaking about it online. And then the 9/11 ceremony really hammered it home for me because I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is it's an act of terrorism to try to get people to stop speaking their mind.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I'm willing to do. I'd rather be killed for speaking my mind than live in fear of not sharing what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Hear
that's my
that?
first life update. My second life update is equally negative. Maybe not equally, but also negative. I've got a positive one coming, I promise. But we know a friend who's a business owner, and they have a few successful businesses. And they lied to me this week, which really sucked. It wasn't about anything, anything in particular. There's a product that I really like, and it's very expensive. It's 50% more expensive than typical, and it is a really good product. It tastes good, right? It's a food or drink. And I asked them, I said, "Hey, this is super expensive, way more expensive than normal. Um, there's a component of it that costs money that I don't want in my product. Can I tailor it and remove that part of the product to then make it less expensive, right? I don't want the full value of the product. I want a portion of it, and therefore I want to pay a portion of the price. I've done this with other products from this person. And he said, no, with the way that we manufacture the product, there's not really a way that we can take it out. And I was like, okay, I understand, not a problem. Like, I'm just not going to have to get it. But then, okay, like, I'm not going to get the product. Sounds good. Now, from a business perspective, I'm curious, why is it priced the way that it's priced? Because it is priced significantly higher than normal. And I'm all for pricing your products higher, but like, why is it? And they talked about how they have a really fancy, high quality ingredient that they use. Um, and I was like, okay, yeah, fair. That makes sense. I understand why you would price this product the way that you have. Um, and so then they left. And then I thought about it and I was like, let me ask an employee if I can get it without that portion that I want to actually buy it for less. And I was like, hey, can you make this product without this thing in it? And they were like, oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a totally separate thing that we just add into it at the end. And I was like, oh, so it's not integral to the manufacturing of the product? And they were like, no. And I was like, oh, well, the owner just told me that it was. And they were like, that's not true. Watch. You can watch me make this product. And I was like, okay. And so then I watched them make it. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And they were like, I'm not going to charge you like full price for this because like you're taking out the most expensive part. And I was like, okay, sounds good to me. And then I was like, actually, out of curiosity, can I see the component that he was talking about that was really high quality? And they were like, yeah. And so they brought it to me and I found it on at Walmart for like $5 like a pack. So like this item is like, you know, it 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 costs a tenth of what they're charging it for,
Yeah.
which I'm totally fine with. There are other products that I am aware that the ratio is even stronger than that. I pay for products that cost 1/100th of
Yeah.
what they're charging, and I'll pay for that because they look at me with a straight face and they say, "This is what it costs. Pay it or don't pay it." And I go, "Got it. I like it. I'm gonna pay for it." Right? My problem comes in when you lie to me about what the product is. Because if you tell me that it's something that it's not and then you charge me for it, that's not genuine.
Yeah. I think it's a great lesson. Alex Ramosi talks about this in advertising all the time. He says, say what you can say and show what you can show. And that's
Yeah.
if you are trying to say something that you can't really say,
Mhm.
then just don't say it.
Right. Yeah, state the facts and tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Same parallel.
right, and this business owner didn't do that. And so I called him out on it. And I texted him and I said, "Hey, there's two things that he lied to me about," and I confronted him about the first one. And I said, "Hey, I asked your employee about this thing and they confirmed that this is, the way it's done." And he was like, "Oh, well, when we were developing it, it was done the way that I told you it was. Like maybe things have changed since then. I don't know. Can't speak to it." And I'm like, "Okay, so you lie to me about two things and then distance yourself from it when I confront you about it, right?" Which
Yeah, it's just
I
like
don't identify with that at all.
right.
Um, which is a huge bummer. But I wanted to note that as well because I want to set the precedent for my future self that I am currently in a position in which I don't own a business and I don't have the opportunity to lie to customers. Well, I guess I do in real estate, but I don't. I don't know. I guess the point that I want to make is that today, September 14th of 2025, I have identified that it is painful as a customer to be lied to by a business owner in which they do not state the facts and tell the truth, and I never want to be that person. So I'm setting the precedent now. So if I ever do it in the future, I'm fucking up big because I know about it today. My last life update is a more positive one. Well, okay, it starts off negative and then it gets positive, I promise. It's about Formula One and
Okay.
racing because this is a racing podcast too.
That is true.
So Red Bull fucking sucks this year in Formula One. And so instead of leaving to go to Mercedes, Max Verstappen negotiated with Red Bull and said, "Hey, if the car's gonna fucking suck this year, I want to go race GT3 because I really like GT3." And they were like, "Okay." So there's a gap between the race last weekend and the race next weekend in which he's going to drive GT3 cars. But like any driver new to GT3, he has to go through all the pre-qualification steps, right? Which is like you have to do all of the it's at the Nordschleife, right? So big long track, like 12-minute lap time for GT3 cars, 10 or 12. Um, you have to sit in the briefing. They teach you about every corner. Then you go out on track in a really nerfed slow car with a coach, and he teaches you different lines and stuff. You've got to go out there for like 3 or 4 hours. And then you have to take part in 2 different races in a car that has 163 horsepower less than everyone else. So basically, they're saying you can't compete. You just have to be able to make it around the track and like follow the signals and stuff without crashing into people to qualify to race these cars. And so a fucking racing coach has to take around 4-time Formula One world champion Max Verstappen. They couldn't get by these Red Bull sat down with the GT3 organization and they were like, "Hey dog, do you know who this guy is? Like, you're gonna make him do all this shit?" He went out in a GT3 car a few months ago, if you'll remember,
Yeah.
and like supposedly set the lap record on his 3rd lap. They were like, "Dog, he's gonna be okay, I promise." And they were like, "No, he has to go through all of the things." And so this weekend, he sat through the driver training, went out on track with the driver coach. The driver coach taught him different lines or whatever, and then he got in his nerfed GT3 car. I don't know how many cars were competing. I think there was like 40 or 50 cars that were competing. And in his nerfed car, which was like amongst the bottom 5 cars, 163 horsepower less. These are GT3 cars, so they only have like 600 horsepower to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So 163 is a huge chunk. Qualified 6th overall and then finished 27th. The next person in equal car, their fastest lap was a minute slower than Max's across the course of the race. Wild, right?
That's redonkulous.
And so like now suppose he was supposed to get in a race car today and actually go racing, but there was some regulatory problem with like he took damage in qualifying, and so then it doesn't count and he has to go run another nerfed car one more time before he can actually race. So he's not going to actually get a chance to race in GT3 until after the next Formula 1 race. But I thought it was really funny that he like has to go through like all the beginners stuff
That's
and then is
hilarious.
just like fucking down on people the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. Dude, the Nordschleifer announced they were expecting a 50,000 attendee boost that weekend because Max was racing there in a nerf car,
Wow.
not in a full race car, not in a car that can compete.
That's wild.
But I thought that was really cool. So stay tuned.
That is cool. That is cool.
Okay, that's my life update. What's your business
Sweet.
update this week?
So business update. I got some basic updates, and then I got the conference itself.
Okay.
But CRO conversion rate optimization data starting to come in on my split test. It's still looking like a little bit of a stalemate. If anything, the lack of conversion on the legacy bundle is hurting that split test more, even though the average order value is high. So it's like the average order value isn't over competing the lack of conversion. And so I don't know if that's a funnel issue. I think that if I was to have more targeted funnels for grandparents, it would be more effective. But it's just something to consider, something to look at, and something to talk about with some of the people that I'm going to mention in the conference as well. But shorter and reformed ad iterations was something that I launched on Monday like morning, midnight.
Yeah.
And that was me pulling the proof forward. I mentioned that last week, but some of those did okay, but nothing really outperformed the current winner, which wasn't surprising to me. But out of the past 60 advertisements that I've run, there have been 2 that look to have some promise. And so I put those in the winners ad set as ones that like got a majority of like the low spend, and just to see how they develop, because I've noticed that the other ads that I put in there have developed over time. And so I wanted to put those in there and kind of see how they do. But yeah, part of my thing. So I guess I'll get into this. I'm trying to get into the conference, but I want to finish this up first. I also ran a separate CBO campaign. That was just a test campaign to get more spend on the ads. The volatility of the ad tests that I run in the big umbrella is like insane. It's like the amount of volatility in the data, you can't get anything useful out of it. It's like practically useless. The hook rates will be wildly different between one another. There's no consistency across ad sets. It's like the cost per click, the CPM, all this other stuff.
Got it.
Just like, so I ran that separate testing campaign,
Right.
just to see how it did. The ads didn't perform super well. They performed at the bar, but it was at a lower spend level, and so they didn't do like super great. And there was a lot of attribution data issues. So like one campaign was hogging data from another campaign, and then it would like flip flop and stuff like that, just depending on like what's the last ad someone would see, stuff like that.
Right.
So there was issues in that respect, but I just wanted to run it to kind of look at how the spend was allocated versus how the spend was allocated when I ran it on a smaller scale.
Got it.
And it was just really volatile between them. And so
Interesting.
yeah, it's like the more I look at it, the more challenging I find it is to identify like a true winner or truly something good in an advertisement,
Right.
unless it like really gets some spend within your umbrella campaign or within a test campaign. Like unless something like absolutely slaughters, regardless of where you put it, it's really hard to get good quality learnings off of it.
I'm stumped because the newer ads are so much better than the current winning ad.
That's what I thought
Like,
too.
I would expect them to do at least the same.
Yeah, yeah. And so I found someone at the conference who was really interesting. I'll get to it in a second. Um, what else? Oh yeah. And at the conference, or before the conference, I was doing a lot of research into frameworks, and there's a bunch of different frameworks for like structuring ad accounts and stuff like that. So to get to the conference, which was a majority of my business work this week, I came in there with a very tactical, I want to understand media buying and marketing from people with a wealth of experience in the field who have managed more money for more time than I have, specifically in Meta, in order to run paid ads. And I was like, that's who I want. I'm trying to scale past the spend wall that I hit right now. Who can I find that can help me?
Right.
That was essentially like my goal. And it was 4 days long, and I found a few people in e-commerce that were helpful. A few people outside of e-commerce that are just good people, good people to stay connected with. And I have some meetings outlined for this coming week, specifically with the people in e-commerce as well as a few other people. And so what I found was my biggest leverage point. It was that I was super straight up, super honest, very transparent, and I didn't know everything, but with the stuff I knew about, I knew my shit. And then the stuff I didn't know, I had a very clear um, discrepancy between where my understanding is and where I want my understanding to be. That clarity going into the conference was my highest leverage point in order to generate better conversations. Because I saw a lot of people there who were in the boat of, oh, like I started my LLC a couple months ago and I'm trying to get into it and blah, blah, blah.
Wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy. A lot of people like that who were just going for like volume of conversation.
There's a lot of people like that in real estate.
Yeah, and those people, like, I had situations where I would be talking to someone who is worth 100x or 1000x my net worth. And they would come in, like pass by and come into the conversation. And you could tell the difference between like my conversation with that super wealthy person and the wealthy person's conversation with the guy or girl who came in who was like, I just started my LLC. Because it was interesting because those people would come in and they'd be like, I just started my LLC. And I understand where they're coming from because they want to get into the conference with something that they've done. And so they frame starting the LLC or starting to research about their business as the work that they've done because that's pretty much the only thing that they've done.
Right.
And it was interesting because a lot of the people who are worth like $10 million, $100 million were like, yeah, but like what work have you done?
Right.
Like that was actually a real question that they would ask.
Right.
And I was like, and that's the same question in my mind too, because it's like, we both know how hard it is to start an LLC.
Right.
It takes approximately 15 minutes on a web page.
I'm actually part of another LLC too.
Okay.
Chris, the president of the Space Coast Crew Board, when that was all falling apart, he talked to me and Justin, and he was like, "Hey guys, we should start another LLC. I'm talking to the city planner. We should start an LLC called the Space Coast Row and Paddle Association, which is going to be a parent company over Space Coast Crew, Mel High, Dragon Boaters, Robovards, stuff like that.
Got it.
Like a water sports like conglomeration that works with the city." And we were like, okay, cool, sounds good. And so then he filed the paperwork that evening, and then the next day we were on Sunbiz. And actually, so eventually we ended up dropping it, and because the board is just a fucking mess, so they're gonna go kill the team on their own. But Justin is still coaching for them, and the board was like, Justin, you have to remove yourself from that LLC. And so he was like, okay, got it. So he asked Chris to take him off the LLC. Chris said, okay. And so Justin came back to the board and they were like, oh, well, it still shows here on Sunbiz. Oh,
No, someone dropped something out.
got it. He was like, well, it's still, the board members were like, well, it still shows you on Sunbiz. And so Justin asked Chris to take him off again. And Chris was like, I've already taken you off. And so exasperated, I was like, these fucking board members have never owned a business before. Because everybody who's owned a business in Florida knows that when you file paperwork, it goes on Sunbiz within a week. And when you file paperwork to get shit taken off of Sunbiz, it takes a year and a half. That's how it fucking
Takes a hot minute.
Takes a hot minute. So like these fucking people don't know how it works. And who fucking cares if Justin's a member of this organization that he's not active in because he's coaching for you. You only have 4 coaches. Your team is bleeding. You're in the red every week. You're not profitable in the slightest, right? They're running a fucking campaign right now, which is if you as a rower, bring your friend from high school to try rowing. They join the team, they pay dues and stay the entire year. Then you pay $250 less in your final month.
Oh, that's compelling.
The monthly dues they raised by $500 this year to a total of like $3,300.
So you only have to pay a $250 increase.
Yeah, essentially.
Have the pleasure of only paying a $250.
Well, and also the kids don't pay the dues.
Yeah.
The parents pay the dues. So why are you canvassing the kids to do
Just
this?
people who have never
Yeah.
touched business.
But then it's also incentivizing you not just to bring someone to the team, but then fucking hold them there all year. If they leave a month early, you don't get your $250 off, right? It's ridiculous. It's horrific. And like it's very and now I just heard this week that they're making everybody who attends the board meetings sign an NDA so they can't talk about the stuff outside the board meetings. It's fucked, dude. And the board meeting that I went to of theirs, they had everybody's mics and the cameras muted and turned off, so I couldn't speak. They did not mute chat, so I was blowing up chat until they kicked everybody out and then deleted the messaging app that everyone was using, so no one could communicate anymore. It's a fucking mess, dude. They're going to Head of the Charles this fall in Boston, and we put in the bid in February this year, or January this year, got approved. It was like we did the math. With booking hotels and everything, it was going to be like $1,000 a kid, right? Then the coup happened. That board dropped the ball. The coup board did not book hotels or anything, and they hired a private security detail to follow the kids around Boston. So now it's going to cost $2,300 a kid. It's a fucking mess. But the fall, like the reason I'm talking about this is that one afternoon, Chris was like, we should have an LLC. And then the next fucking day we had an LLC.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
And that was my highest leverage point in the conversation. I mean, I had.
Which, can I interject one more time? There's nothing wrong with saying, I have an LLC, this is where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
The problem is if you're like, I've done a ton of work to get the LLC. And like, okay, granted, we read a lot about what LLCs are. It takes a lot of effort to get comfortable with what an LLC is, right?
Yeah, sure.
And the tax system. It takes a lot of work to get there. I get that. But when you're in these conversations, you should say, I did a lot of work to make sure that I understand that the LLC is not a physical entity, right? It's an independent entity that is basically a tax filing system, right?
Yeah.
And so we filed as an LLC and not an S Corp or a C Corp because we don't want to have to take the meeting notes and fucking whatever, right? Like, but then be honest and say, that's as far as I've gotten. I haven't made a Meta account. I don't know how to run ads. I don't know what product to use. I don't have a Shopify.
Or just like, and you can easily just preface anything with like, I'm super new to this. I came to the conference to learn. This is what I'm interested. I have done this, but I understand that I have so much more to go as well. What would you recommend?
Right.
Like that is like people are open to you just being honest about it. Right?
State facts and tell the truth.
Right, exactly. And so I think the highest leverage point I had in the conference was that I was just really blunt and honest.
Stated facts and told the
truth. Yeah, I told them, how I acquired the business, what I do, and like I would, essentially my spiel was like, I bought the business from my mentor. It had 3 weeks of spend history on it. It was break even or unprofitable when I got it. I have then taken the business. I acquired the business and then have been able to slowly scale the business now to where it's a little bit profitable. And essentially, I'm a fancy middleman between a product that wasn't brought to the market yet effectively and an end customer who's searching on Instagram or Facebook. And then my store and my advertisement acts as a middleman between those two. And like that's literally what I would lay out.
Right.
And I would say it's a variant of dropshipping. The reason I don't particularly love the term dropshipping is that dropshipping gets a really and I would say this, I was like, dropshipping, it is dropshipping, but I try to put a much more brand focused effort into it because dropshipping gets a really bad rap for having people who are half scammers.
Right.
And so I put a focus on being able to get my product anywhere in the world within 10 days, 7-day customer support, and real return and refund policies. Like that was my friend. I'm like, that's all I really differentiate myself from at this point. And so I just said what I differentiate by.
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, cool. Right. Like that's like, it's just refreshing to just have someone who's like, just honest about where they're at. Right.
Right.
And so I had a conversation. I won't say the name of the or the name of the guy or the company on air because, probably private, but the president of a very large capital firm. And I had a 3-hour conversation with him where like we were talking about his business because he also does another side business with like some other people, some other kids kind of my age that he's mentoring into it.
Okay.
But he has his like main capital firm.
And that's
He's
like a
been,
private investment company?
yeah, that
Okay.
he's that's like his firm. He's the president of it, and he's been doing that for 20 years.
Okay.
And so he's kind of mentoring these other kids, just kind of from a, like a one-on-one perspective of like, they're not doing the same capital firm path, but
Right.
just like a general entrepreneurship mindset. That's at least from what I gathered, that's kind of like how that connection works. I could be mistaken, but that's how I understood it. Um, but I had a 3-hour conversation with him where we talked about his business, his workings. He looked at my business, digging through materials, giving me different ideas. And like, I didn't have like particularly crazy insightful ideas to give about wealth management, right? But like, I would just sit there and kind of like ask questions,
Mhm.
or like ask about this thing, or what his experience with this is, or just general questions about like, oh, like that's super interesting. Like, how do you navigate when like he has another business that's more
Right.
physical product
Right.
oriented, and I was like, how do you navigate the price changing from your supplier, and how do you compete with other big companies that are in the same niche that are way bigger when you're getting hit with bottom line hits that might be just 1%, but it hits you directly on the bottom line because you're trying to scale, right?
Right.
Like stuff like that. And like, I don't have a perfect answer to this, right? But it's like just asking that targeted question that comes from a place of like honesty, and like just not even information, but just listening to what they said first,
Right.
and be like, okay, I listened to you attentively,
Right.
and I have this question. How would you answer it? And like, that turned into a 3-hour conversation and dinner.
Right.
And it's like, it's not like I'm a friggin' 20-year capital manager,
No.
right?
But what I find this so interesting because if you're in a conversation in which there's someone who has a lot of information and a lot of success, and then there's someone who doesn't, they have a lot of value that they can flow to you, and you don't have fucking anything to flow to them. They're older than you, they have more life experience, they have more money, they have more success, they know the answer to the questions that you're gonna ask, right? But when I put myself in that position of the person who's flowing value, like when we have conversations with Everett or when I talk to a rower about rowing, right? Because
Yeah.
that's like my absolute specialty, right? It is so valuable to me because I am hearing questions from people and I'm understanding in what order can I most effectively teach this stuff? And how well do I know this stuff and where could I touch up? So, for
Yeah.
example, for rowing, when it comes to the stroke, that's my power play, right? I know everything there is to know about the stroke and how to do it the most efficiently, the
Right.
different rowing styles, the different techniques, right? I love and how to drill for different techniques. I love that, right? What I'm less confident on, and I'm aware of this, is rigging. How do you change the spread and spacing of the actual riggers for the body style of the rower who's rowing? And then how do you compare that to other people in the boat of different like lengths, right? Um, I'm less confident in that. And so I'm aware of that. So if I were to start a private rowing coaching thing or something like that, I know that's where I would want to brush up on or defer when people ask, right? So it by people asking me questions, it helps me reaffirm what I truly know, how well I truly know it, and how effectively I can teach it. And that is, I think, just as valuable as the actual information that I'm giving. So by you asking him questions, you're not giving him value directly. You're helping him like sharpen the knife that he already has, right? Which I think is
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah. And I had a very similar experience going the other way, where I was talking to people who were just starting in e-commerce,
Yeah.
and by going through my process, like, I'm like, hey, like, I don't really know much about the, like, essentially my spiel was like, I'm not an offers expert when it comes to e-commerce. I'm not a fulfillment expert. I'm not a manufacturing expert. I have zero experience in manufacturing and design of a product and how to get that fulfilled. I use a fulfillment agency. They do it for me. I'm just a middleman.
Right.
But when it comes down to advertisements, I'm not a king advertiser by any means, but I've paid for a lot of skill building, and I attribute the growth of my business partially due to just the general optimization of my single ad, but also how I've been able to produce volume of advertisements at a higher level that then support that ad.
Right.
Because when I cut those ads, my one winner ad does suffer.
Right.
Right. And so, like, framing it in that respect, it's like, I'm not some king advertiser, right? I haven't built a multi-million dollar company. But what I can share is the skills that I've acquired, how I've approached my line of thinking, what I focus on personally. And, I can attribute that to some aspects of my success, although I don't have proof for everything because I'm still learning and building. Right.
Right.
And like that honesty framework, like, it immediately, it's like, oh, like like for someone I'm talking to, it's like, oh, this person is just honest and genuine. And it's not like a play to like get me to market like my advertising skills. Like I don't have anything to offer in that department.
Right.
Right. Like I don't offer a course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's just like having that was like my biggest leverage point, like to get really great conversations together. And conversations that I really enjoyed. And I wanted to outline that discrepancy, between what I tried to do and what I saw other people doing as like kind of an informational base, and also to kind of recap it for myself of like what to do when you go to a conference, like
Right.
what's useful, what's useless,
Right.
right? Something else that I think I'll do next time is I want to have a shirt that I print out like 2 weeks before on Canva. That's just like
Vision
whatever.
79. No.
I want it to say something like in ecom looking for media buyers.
It's a good thought.
Like super flat out front, because you get the way that you network is you talk to people, you talk to a broad range of people, and then you try to find other people who are actually like
Yeah.
in your space,
Mhm.
right? But it's like you can cut down that time
Right.
and that friction just by having something outlined like literally on your shirt.
Right.
Um,
Are there like tables? Is it like standing room or something?
there's a bunch of different rooms. So there was like a main ballroom where the seminars were actually held.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a big room above that, there was some like networking conferencing. And then there was also like a kind of food gallery area
Got it.
where there would be networking as well.
So is there like a table that you can sit at with like a sign that says like media, like the thing?
There wasn't tables outlined in that way. There were tables you could sit at, but it was all, there weren't like sections. It was who you talked to was like a complete up in the air until you started talking to them. You didn't know unless they had something on their shirt. Like if a group of people were walking by with like moving advertising forward, right? And that was one of the shirts I saw. Like that's like, oh, advertising, right? So
Well,
that's
there
like the
is-
biggest leverage point.
Realtors have like a little pin that you get when you get your real estate license or your realtor certification that like everybody wears
Mhm.
everywhere you go.
I don't know. I noticed some pins, but I didn't really pay too
It's
much.
I mean, it's not as good as a
Possible,
shirt,
but
right? If it's a big black and white shirt that says like "Come talk to me about e-commerce," then
yeah,
way better.
yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. And it's like, what I realized is like, I didn't go there looking like I don't have like a lot of super nice dress clothes that like either fit me anymore or that like I wear. So I went with like, a button down shirt and
Mhm.
slacks
Yeah,
and like shoes. Like there were people who stood up there with like full suit and tie, like everything, vest, all the 9 yards.
right,
Like I just came there casual, and I was like, I think I'll be able to give enough value to the people I talk to where they won't care that my shirt doesn't have an imprint design on it.
right.
And I was like, that's kind of where I sat.
I had this thought last night. Grace and I were watching, there's like a streamer that we'll like watch one of his videos before we go to sleep. His name's Wubby.
Mhm.
He's just like a streamer who like makes commentary on stuff, right?
Yeah.
But he went to his nephew's baptism last week, and so he had like a 15-minute video about that. And he was talking about uh accepting everybody was. He was like, I was dressed up in like a monkey suit and I was really uncomfortable and I was afraid that everyone I was going to talk to would be like, have you been saved? And then like it's going to be this whole thing. But that wasn't it at all. Like everyone he went up and talked to was like, hey man, have you tried the food? It's really good today. Have a good one. And like that's it. And he was
Yeah.
like, those are the people that get me interested in religion because it doesn't feel like I'm being sold anything. Like they're really good at like making you feel accepted. And I was like, that's a great point. And then I thought about it and I was like, I dressed nice for Sanders' baptism, but I bet that if I go to church or an open house or a showing or anything in my favorite outfit, which is a thin, easy breathable Blue Marlin t-shirt and my swim trunks and my flip-flops, I'll probably be accepted, right?
Yeah.
And so then I had the thought, I was like, dude, what if I just throw away all my other clothes and I just buy a bunch of these swim trunks and t-shirts and then I don't even think about it anymore and that's just what I wear every day, genuinely.
Yeah.
I can't wear it to Northrop because I'll be fired, but like once I'm not like everywhere else where it's not like I suffer consequences if I don't wear that stuff. I could just wear that everywhere.
Mhm.
And then like, how much attention would you get at a conference if you wore like the Hormozy fit?
Yeah, I think
Nathan
it
did.
depends on like who you're trying to attract.
That's
you
true.
know?
Yeah, it's
So it varies, but like for me, it's like I just kind of dressed in the middle, and I was like, yeah, this is good.
right.
You know, um,
I think you did it in a way that would probably get you the most success for where you're at right now. I don't think that wearing trunks would be more successful. It's just a thought that I had the other day that I was like, man, maybe I'll just start being like more myself. I don't.
right. It was funny though because I heard this Alex Hormozy quote on one of my drives there and back. So one of my lessons learned is stay there. I swept a cumulative 8 hours over the course of the entire week.
Damn.
Combined 8 hours over the entire week.
So it's 2 hours a night?
2 to 3 hours a night.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did you have a notepad? Did you take notes?
Yeah, so I had a notepad at the event. I took notes, and they also gave you, there's like a 500-page booklet that like the whole seminar.
That's a book, dog.
I'll get into it.
500 pages, that's a book.
No, literally 500 pages.
It's not a booklet, that's a
Yeah,
book.
it was this thick.
It's a novel. Okay. That's awesome, though.
Yeah, it was good. But yes, I took notes and all that stuff. But yeah, it was definitely, like, if I wasn't in conversation, I was fighting the sleep deprivation.
My thought more so than sleep deprivation is memory retention, because I find that when I'm tired, I remember shit a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a notepad, you can combat that because you can go review your notes later or recording conversations and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people that I had really valuable conversation with, I got their contact info, and I have meetings with them this coming week.
Yeah.
So
how long was, like, you would get there? Talk me through the timeline of a day.
I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning, leaving by 5:30, or like 5:15, 5:30.
So is that like getting dressed, waking up, getting your shit together?
Yeah, 45 minutes to do that.
Got it.
Make sure I'm like sort of fresh to drive.
Yeah.
And then I would get there by 6:30. Doors opened at 7:30. Or sorry, doors opened at 7. So I'd get there at 6:30, park, walk over there, get to the doors at like 6:45. Doors opened at 7. And then I would be like one of the earlier people in. I would get a really good seat right at the front of my section. And then from 7 to 8:30, when the actual main seminars start, I would do all of my business work that I would traditionally do in the evening. So moving money between bank accounts, checking up on emails, customer support emails, all that jazz.
Right.
That's what I would do in that hour and a half.
Got it.
And then it would be seminars and networking up until about 11 p.m. or midnight. And so then I would drive home, get home and like done and dusted by like 1:30, then go to sleep at like 2-ish, right? So that's where that like 2.5 hours or 2 hours of sleep comes in.
Right.
Because then you're waking up at 4:30. Yeah. So definitely 100% worth it to stay at the resort, at the hotel that it's hosted at.
Right.
Because even if I'd stayed up until midnight, I could have gone to bed at 12:30 and then woken up at like 6 or 6:30.
Triple your sleep.
Right.
It's way better.
So like literally tripling my sleep.
Right.
Yeah. So 100% worth it.
It's a good point. I bet actually if you booked it out as early as possible, you could do it for a reasonable price too. I mean, the Gaylord is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like those rooms are great, but for 3 nights, you're looking at like $800.
Yeah. It was even more than that, I think.
But if you book out
a night,
if you book out like super early for, like, you've already bought your tickets for next year, right?
Yeah.
Or reserved.
Yeah.
Then you can probably get something reasonable like 6 months out.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe not the Gaylord, but in the same area.
Yeah. It'll be at the MGM, so I would have to look.
Oh, in Vegas. That's
there.
right.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice next year.
Yes, I will have to.
Right.
But just like for like any sort of future reference, like if
okay.
you think you can drive, like unless you're 15 minutes away, just book.
Yeah.
Well,
and also, I don't know how many people are actually showing up on time and then leaving as late as possible. Like,
I'm one of the very, very few.
Right. I would argue that most people driving from like
most people were showing up at 8 for the 8:30 seminar, getting a seat kind of in the middle or the back,
right,
and then leaving around 6 or 7.
Yeah, exactly. And so at that point, it's like reasonable. But like if you're trying to maximize like you, then
yeah. I mean, I was trying to get everything I could out of it. You know, I took
how much were tickets?
The general ticket was $500 and the platinum ticket was $1,500.
Right. So you have.
So I got the platinum. I upgraded at the end.
So then that's, you got to squeeze that.
Well worth it.
What was the difference?
The general tickets, not kidding you, were probably like 8 times the volume of tickets. And so it was broken up by section, right? And so the general tickets, like if you got a general ticket, you could sit up at the front of the general section, which was all good and dandy. But like anytime you were going through like a check-in process, or even when you were just networking, like the volume of general ticket holders made you stand out a lot less. Like if you had any tier above that point, it was like an automatic, like, oh, like your line experience is a whole lot easier. Your seating experience is a lot easier. You're around people who just invested that like bit more, right? And also now, because you're with a platinum, you're not at like the base level ticket. It's a little bit like it's easier to come up to people who might be like executive founder or CEO level ticket holders,
Right.
because like you're not coming directly from like the bottom, right?
You're
You get
surrounding
looped
yourself.
in with people who, like, if you buy just a general ticket, you get looped in with maybe people who are like starting to build their business, or even people who are growing their business. But you also get looped in people who are there to network for a 9 to 5 job, right? And
Yeah.
people who are like there to just find a company to work for, which is
Right.
like a very different audience. And so it's like one differentiator that just gets it a little bit, it makes it a little bit easier to get in the door with other people.
You're surrounding yourself with higher earners.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and also giving yourself the leverage to, when you go network, that like like if you're coming up to a founder level ticket holder and you have a general ticket holder, like it's going to be a 50-50 shot that like you're there to just like try and get a better 9 to 5 job, or you're a business owner that's starting out and wants
Right.
advice, right? Like
Right.
it's, and so like if you're like a platinum or above ticket holder, like it's likely that you're there because you're in business at minimum.
Did you have anyone tell you to fuck off?
No, not a single person.
Got it.
But I also didn't like, I didn't try to stretch myself like crazy. Like
Right.
I wouldn't like go up to CEO level guys, because they have like kind of their own thing that they run as well with different types of meetings and stuff like that.
You're
Like
talking to other people. Yeah.
yeah, I would talk to like other platinum holders, executive or founder level people. I wouldn't try to like go bug CEO level people.
I wonder if you could though. I wonder
Oh,
if
you
you
totally could.
I wonder if you went up with a phone with the 5-minute timer and set up and said, "Hey, I'm starting my business. I'd love 5 minutes of your time. I'll start the timer. I won't take more than that."
Yeah.
If
It,
they'll actually go for it, right?
it's a cool idea. I didn't personally like jump for that.
Sure. Yeah.
And maybe that was a mistake I made, but that's just the experience that I had.
I mean, if you got value from it, I don't think it's a
Yeah, I definitely got value from it.
yeah. When I see people of stature that most people would say, "Oh, probably don't go mess with that person," that's immediately who I want to go talk to because I know that no one else wants to, right? So like when we're in customer meetings at work, I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to the head. So like at the end of our last presentation, we were walking out the parking lot, and it was a big parking lot. And I had gotten a good parking spot that morning because I moved cones for reserved parking spaces because it doesn't say who it's reserved for. So maybe it's reserved for me. I got a nasty grant from security that week, but I pulled up to him, like high ranking dude, right? Walking out at the end of the day. And I was like, I pulled up with the window rolled down and I was like, "What's up, good looking? It's a big parking lot. Would you like to drive through your car?" And he laughed and he was like, "I'm all right, thanks though." And I was like, "See you tomorrow." But like,
Yeah, yeah.
those are the people that I like to go talk to. So I'm not saying you did it wrong. That's
No,
just where
yeah.
my brain goes to first thing. Like how do you get to that person without being bothersome? Because obviously you don't want to bother them because their time is more valuable than yours, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I had a great experience regardless. I met some people who are in like marketing and media. I had some really good conversations with them. I So it was interesting. One of the things I did that I didn't see anyone else do is I went up to the media people at the event who were hired to do the media.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, like I know that you're like on the clock. I won't take up a ton of your time. I was curious, what are your biggest leverage points when you're filming content, and how do you take that content that you filmed and turn it into effective advertisements and campaigns?"
That's interesting. I did something similar in my business update too.
Oh, cool.
I'll take a note and I'll tell you later.
Yeah, yeah. But it was like, these people are literally professional. They're hired to do this event. Like, they should have some insight,
Right.
right? And so it was really cool. They were like essentially like, because I had started to talk a little bit about like campaign structuring, and they were like, honestly, like the algorithm is the audience. If the algorithm doesn't like whatever you're putting out there, it's because the audience doesn't like it.
Right.
Don't differentiate the two.
Right.
And so that was really interesting for me, because like part of the thing that I've been trying to break down is like, how do I structure it better? And the structuring question that I have comes from a place of, I don't feel as though the algorithm is giving me enough feedback or data for me to learn effectively.
Right.
Right. And so like kind of that was, it was really interesting. I also met I met some people who were specifically in e-commerce, media, and marketing. I have meetings with them next week. I don't really want to get sold into like $1,000 a month program.
Right.
And I also really want to understand a clear picture of like what they're going to do and why before I put money down in order to have them help me. I also met some people who are in e-commerce that are a similar level or slightly higher level than me. and had really great conversation with them, and are going to like continue maintaining that connection for the time being,
Right.
and forward future. One person I met, really interesting, she was in fashion design, um, uh, uh, younger than me, I believe. She worked for a big fashion designer and then left that to go do marketing and media for a company that does surprise birthday parties with Cybertrucks for kids. And they'll wrap the Cybertruck in the kid's name and then
Oh,
show
that's
up
cool.
as like a birthday surprise. Yeah. And so she works for them now, just started part-time. And I met her. And so one of the things I did with the media and marketing people that I met, or just general people that I had like a longer conversation with, is I showed them my winning ad and then the ads I had created. And I showed them and I was like,
What the fuck?
what do you think of these
Yeah.
two first, right? And then like, and then I would be like, I'm confused because all of the people except her said, oh, I think that the ones that I created would do better. Everyone said that, just like right off the bat. And I was like, well, why do you think that? Like, well, it's funny because that's not the case.
Right.
Like, what are your ideas about why do you think that? And so, I would go through them and they kind of had similar thoughts to I did. The fashion designer or fashion marketing lady said was the only person that immediately identified my current winner as the winner and was able to give me constructive tactical feedback about why it wins. And then I pulled up like different examples of, because I had these pre-made in a folder because I kind of wanted to be able to do this at the conference.
Yeah.
And so I pulled up like 5 examples of the ones I'd made, and she was like, no shit, no shit, no shit.
Like the good ones that you and I think are good?
Right. It was the
Okay.
first person I met like that.
I'd love to hear what she has to say because, like, I don't know.
Really interesting. And I was like, awesome. I love that you said that these are crap because they have lost me money time and time again.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, and her biggest thinking point was the imagery in the ones that you're creating sucks. It's good information. It's good content. It's well done. But the first visual that you see is crap. She was like, look at your winning ad. There's not much that's really great about it, but you look at it and it's a gramophone in front, and look at all of the contrast in the colors with the black background, all the cards in contrasting colors right in front of it. It's eye-catching, it's eye-appealing, it has depth to it, right? And so I was like, this is someone that I need, someone who's in fashion to tell me,
Yeah.
right? Because like my analytical brain goes to like, how can I just squeeze value into 20 to 30 seconds? And like, also I've done a lot of work to like simplify that down to like make it flow really well.
Right.
But it's like, she was like, that's all good and dandy. That will help you, but that's not your leverage point to get ads that scale.
Right.
And like, that was really interesting.
It's crazy though, because like I understand that the first impression is important and like obviously you want it to look good and the contrast makes sense, but you have better hook rates in other ads.
Yeah, and better hook rates, but the question is to whom and to what quality of avatar, and that's what I don't have clear insight. I know the age ranges of people, right?
Okay.
But I don't have clear insight into that aspect of it.
Or is the words the hook and not the visuals?
Yeah, so there's different layers to
Right.
it, right?
Different variables.
And like having her essentially be like, this picture is way better. I was like, I came out with 2 things. I came out with one, I need to hire you, which
Yeah.
I have a meeting with her on Tuesday.
Right.
And I've already told her, I'm like, I will pay you just per hour to sit on a call with me once a week and tell me why my shit sucks. Like,
Yeah, it's a good way.
just tell me why this sucks, tell me why it's terrible, and help me make it better.
Right.
Right? Essentially, it was like just once a week. And like, I don't know what the details of what she's gonna want for pricing, but I'm very open to just paying her. Right? Because it's the first person I've met who's been like,
Who could identify?
who
without
could
being
identify,
told? Right.
right? At least something, right? Because everyone else was confused, including me, right? Like she was the only person who was like, she immediately came at it with the approach of like, this is better, I understand, or like some pictures why, and then I told her like, yeah, it actually is better, and she was like, okay, let's break down why it wins. And then her husband was also there, and he was like, I don't understand why it wins. Like maybe this is just coincidence or an algorithm thing. That's what he said.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought so too. And she was immediately like, no, it wins for a reason. It has some aspect that wins. This ad is converting for a reason. It's not just coincidence. And she immediately went at it from that perspective and was like, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need you to help me. right? So that was what I pulled. Very like hopefully it grows into a something that can actually like really help me scale my ads and grow.
Right.
But like it was interesting because I learned a really valuable lesson in that respect too, is that it's not always like the people that you directly expect to be able to help you that end up being really, really helpful. Like she
Yeah.
was someone that on a whim I met within a group. The only reason I went up there was because she mentioned the word marketing as I was passing by, and she was in fashion media and marketing, right, for a big fashion retail company.
Right.
Like someone that like yes has a flavor of like what I'm doing, but not someone that like I would directly like if you put a big board of people out there and you had people who are in e-commerce marketing and this experience and that, and then you had um just started out in fashion media and marketing
Yeah.
like a year ago, right?
Right.
Like that's the person I wouldn't leverage on, like the person who could identify my winning ad.
Yeah, it's unexpected.
Right, it's unexpected, and so that was really interesting. But I was like, just talking with her and seeing how she broke it down, I was like, I need your help on my team. Like, I will pay you, please, because one thing is that like you get a lot of contacts, but you don't stay in touch with all of them,
Right.
right? And so I was like, like before we left the conversation, I was like, I want to make sure. Are you willing to help me with this?
Right.
And she was like, yes. And I was like, if I reach out to you and I bother you about this and I hire you on to help me with this, are you okay with that? And I asked her that like 2 or 3 times, like
Yeah.
throughout our conversation, and she was like, yes. Like I like reach out to me, I'll help you. We can coordinate something. So
Right.
like I really want to make it clear, like I am serious about this.
Mm-hmm.
I want your help on it, right? And like it's not by any respects, like it's not an ideal sales pitch because it puts all of the leverage in the person you're trying to hire, right?
I mean, you're not like
At the same time, I am open to paying that difference
Right.
between what I could negotiate for letting them know that they're super valuable to me,
Right.
and having that leverage in a conference where there's 10,000 other people that she could potentially work with, right?
Right.
And also like just putting it out there that like I value you specifically, which has a lot of weight to it,
Right.
right? So not a great leverage financially, but the financial leverage to me doesn't matter if I can get a winning ad,
Right.
because the winning ad can scale and pay for whatever leverage I lost in that one conversation.
Right.
So she was really, really cool. The only person I found really, really identified it. Additionally, the marketing director that I told you about that I met at Fort Lauderdale, I wasn't able to meet with them this past week just because they're so slammed. But I did get a text message exchange from them, as well as met her media buyer who actually does all of the like creating the ads.
Oh, cool.
And so I'm going to meet with both of them at some point
Mm-hmm.
within the coming weeks in Fort Lauderdale. Or via Zoom, either
Right.
one. Haven't worked out the details yet, but I'm perseverant, and even if like responses fall away or something like that. Do you know Monect, the Monect app?
No.
It's essentially like a social media app where you can connect with people, but you can pay like like $10 or $20 to send them a message, and then they respond back to you, right? So it's like if you know someone famous and you're like, I really want to ask them a question, you can essentially pay a flat fee and then ask them a question, and then they'll respond to you. Either like in
Oh,
a
okay.
text message format or like a video format or whatever, right? It depends.
It's like Cameo.
I don't know what Cameo is, but probably.
Cameo is a site where it's like pick a celebrity, Joe Rogan, right? He's not on Cameo, but Joe Rogan. You go on this website and you're like, "Hi Joe, it's my son's birthday. I'd love a message." And then he films a video that's like,
Yes.
"Hey son."
Exactly. But
Got it.
on Monect, you can ask like technical business questions.
Got it. So you're paying for responses.
Yeah, exactly. So I found them on Monect too. So like in case like something goes haywire, or like phone numbers change, or I can't reach out to them, or can't get a clear answer about
Yeah.
something or whatever. Like
People drop off all the time.
yeah, I have them on Monect, and so I can always contact them that way.
Right.
So I got some ways to contact them and coordinate the meeting and stuff like that. And additionally, on their Monect, they also have a pay for like a call.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's like $75 for 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I could book an hour-long call for $300,
Right.
which like it's like, yes, it's on the
Comes
cheaper
to that,
side,
right?
but it's doable. Like I have physical cash that can be allocated towards that if I really need
Right.
that and want that. Right.
Well, and at
So-
this point, it's like, if there's a chance that it can make these ads profitable, right? Then go for it. Like you're already spending money on it, right? Like
Yeah.
just spend more money on it. So you had finished with, so those are really good connections. I also made something.
Yeah. So those were really good connections. I also made some other really good friends. One of them does SEO, and SEO is
Search engine
yes, thank you. Sorry, I
Yeah.
was blanking for a second. Search engine optimization stuff. Really good guy. Just like his price points are higher than I can afford right now. I think the low ticket is $2,500 a month.
Hmm.
So they work with like $3 million plus profit brands.
Right.
But really good, just a good guy. Good connection to have. Super fresh into it. Like he started with like his friend's company. His friend started the company a while back. He just joined like 3 months ago as a sales rep
Right.
style guy. And he like from zero is like 3 months later like really really good at what he does. You can just tell he's put a lot of volume of effort into what he does.
Right.
So super cool. But also had an awesome conversation with a founder level father and his son, and they're both in the e-commerce space that selling through Amazon.
Got it.
And just a lot of really great people, good connections, good meetings set up, and hopefully I can find someone that can really help scale up my advertisements.
Right.
Now, that was the whole networking side of everything.
Okay.
There was also like the main seminar sections. Largely, I personally found that the networking was much more valuable
Well, it's
than
specified, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
the networking was much more valuable than the seminar sessions. The reason being is that the seminars was 500 pages in the book. And you went through every page, like slide associated with it, going through different concepts and ideas.
Right.
Um, it was one of those things that was like it tried to hit everything and didn't really do an incredible job at hitting anything outside of like small nuggets. Like there were nuggets of like, okay, this is really cool and tactical, or this is good.
Right.
For example, they had the person from their HR program come up and talked about compensation and pay structure,
Mm-hmm.
which was a useful tactical piece of advice. They also had the same thing come up. Their project manager for their team come up and talk about like what their approach is to managing projects,
Right.
right? Which was interesting and cool to see. There's also a lot of stuff of like a mindset and understanding. The big premise of the seminar was how do you get clarity on your next steps in business?
Okay.
That was the premise, and it was all about figuring out what your next step is and how you're going to approach it. And it was about not only just your next step, but your next 5+ steps.
Hmm.
And I had personally, there's a high probability that I have this backwards, and I'm thinking about it from a little guy perspective, and I just don't have enough volume in business to understand this. I personally don't find it effective to plan 5+ steps ahead.
No, it's like define your current weakest link and then attack that.
Yeah,
And then the next weakest link and the next weakest link. And then if you run out of weak links, then identify your constraint to growth.
exactly. And if you define 5 steps ahead, it implies that you have a picture of what that path is going to look like. But if you've never gone through that path before and you don't know someone who has gone through that path directly,
Right.
then the probability that you diverge and are wrong at any one of those 5 steps is high. And therefore
Right.
your whole plan changes and your whole path changes.
Yeah. It's something that you can look at from like a point of experience, right?
Mhm.
Like a rowing example, because it's the easiest one, right? Like if I come up to a kid and he's in his first year of rowing, I know that fast catches are the hardest part of the stroke. And I know that that's something he's probably going to learn in 3 years. I can
Yeah.
set him up for it today, but first, dude, we've got to get legs, body, arms down because you're doing everything in the wrong order. So you tell him to focus on this one fundamental thing. And I know that there's something else that he's going to have to do later,
Of course, yeah.
but it's because I have a ton of experience with it, right? And if it's a new business that people haven't done before, or it's your first time going through it, like that kid isn't gonna know because he doesn't see the problem.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it yet. He doesn't know enough to know what the next thing is gonna be.
Exactly.
And like Promosi could bring that to a company when he invests in it because he knows where it's going. But
Yeah, and it was interesting because it was like to pull it to karting, because that's like kind of something that I feel like I have the most wealth of experience when it comes to like karting and racing and prep.
right,
And so like it would be like me coming up to someone and being like, you got to prep the cart before the race, and then you're going to want to get out on track early. like these would be like a next steps overall framework outline. And then you want to qualify as well as you can, fight for position in the race, and then make sure you clean up and organize your stuff when you're done with that weekend.
Right.
That'd be like an overall next steps. And like to an adolescent or to someone who's like starting out in karting, that might be like, okay, I have my next steps. To me, I know those are shit next steps because there are 20 steps that go into prepping a cart well
Right.
and prepping your space well to ensure that you can do any of the other 4 remaining steps effectively.
Right.
Right? It's going to be like, okay, what do you do first when you prep a cart? Well, you want to check your vital essentials. Like, do you have enough oil and is it clean? When's the last time you changed it? Is your spark plug good? What is the condition of the exhaust that you got off the track from that last race? Is it running rich? Is it running lean? Are you looking at weather data? Are you checking the axle? Are you checking your chain play? Are you checking your chain tension and oil level? Are you checking seat mount bolts in case they're loose? Because that's a big pointer. Are you checking bumper mount bolts if they're loose? Because that's a big pointer too. And if your bumper falls off, that's an immediate black flag. And that's something that's easy to tighten up that you can just for insurance for the race. Like there's
Right.
so many pointers
Right.
that you got to hit just in the prep of the cart.
Right.
That to say like, oh, I got to prep the cart. Like it's very easy to just be like, oh yeah, like I'll look it over and I'll clean it.
Right.
And it's like, well, yes,
Oversimplification.
the last step of prepping your cart is making it look clean. Because if you go out on track with a clean cart, then everyone knows you got your shit together.
Right.
That's the last step though.
Well, and then like shit gets thrown into the works too that you don't anticipate either. Like, okay, what if you get to qualifying and then halfway through it starts raining and now you have to make suspension setup changes on the fly, right?
Yeah, and it's also now you're
thing.
thinking of 5 steps with that, and you're like, okay, I'm going to pull into the pit. I'm going to change to rain tire setup, and I'm going to lower the rain tire pressures because I think it's going to dry out. And then I'm going to try to do it as quickly as possible, go back out on track. But if
Right.
you've never gone through a rain thing, like
You don't fucking know
you have
that.
no clue if that's the next step. So like you might have much higher leverage by taking the extra 30 seconds
Yep.
to widen your track width in the front and narrow your track width in the rear. That's
Right.
something that a lot of rain racers do because
Right.
it helps the inside rear tire jack on the corner if you narrow that segment, and it also helps the front stay planted in the rain if you widen the front.
Right.
And that takes 30 seconds, but if you don't have experience with that or you don't understand that, like
Right. You're not gonna.
you don't have any clarity on that, right?
Right.
And so, like having that kind of framework, I was like, it was one of those things where I was like, it's awesome to talk about your next steps and get all excited and confident about what your next steps are going to be.
Yeah.
But I would have much preferred what is the whole entire week dedicated to identifying your single biggest lever and
Right.
how do you pull that effectively coming out of this conference.
And that's what I like about Hermosi's stuff because like you picked a perfect analogy because it's like you just walked through the next 5 steps for kart racing and I walked through for rowing, right?
Yeah.
And then we identified this subset in every step of that, right? But what if this dude is like racing scooters that you pedal with your feet? It's totally different now, right? But what I like about Hermosi's stuff, and I feel what maybe could have been better applied for the conference that you went to, is identifying a formula that you can apply to any business to identify what's going on rather than talking about specifics and then like making kind of like fucked up analogies to like comparing karting to rowing. Like I can do, okay, yeah, you check your boat down before you race and then you go out and then you do reps and then depending on how reps go then you go to
You warm up and then
yeah, whatever, like,
session, right?
right, there's similarities, but like the actual important bits are completely different, right? And where you optimize is completely different. Rowing in the rain versus like karting in the rain, fucking entirely different. Rowing in the rain in rowing is it's as easy as rowing in the dry, right? But
Yeah.
karting is completely different. And so that's something that I really appreciate about Hermosi stuff. Not shitting on the conference,
No.
too, but just a pat on the back for
Yeah,
Hermosi stuff.
yeah. Hermosi does it very, very well. And then I wouldn't have even minded if the sessions were more broad strokes and broad terms because it's 10,000 people and they're all at a different stage. And I understand that that's very, very challenging to cater to.
Some Blue Marlin agents were there.
Oh, really?
That's funny. Mike and Dennis, the 2 big commercial guys from Blue Marlin.
Oh,
I saw them
cool.
post like at the PBD Vault Conference, and I was like,
Oh,
"Sick."
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
was like,
I took like 5 photos while there,
Uh.
and I have like 2 photos with myself, and it was from the last day.
yeah.
And I was just like, shit, I haven't gotten a photo of myself yet. So I asked
Dude,
someone I'd met there
I'm
to take it with me.
I'm so bad about that with real estate. I did like 3 showings this week, and I took 1 picture of one of them, and I was
Yeah.
like, I told myself at the beginning of the week, every time I'm done with the showing, I'm like, oh fuck, I should have taken pictures there. Anyway,
Yeah, it's hard to remember, but this was my biggest thing that I think could be drastically improved is there were case studies within the actual seminar. I love case studies, not knocking on case studies. I thought it was really cool It was really fun to be in your group and figure out what to do next. At the same time, I didn't go there to listen to myself talk or listen to people who have the same problems I do talk through a problem.
Right.
I went there to listen to experts on how they analyze problems, right?
Yeah.
And so the seminars, just the general lecture portion, did that in broad strokes, but didn't do it in enough depth to give you tactical ways to move forward. And then the case studies were an opportunity to do that. But instead of what I would have loved to, I'll start with what I did see. What I did see is that we'd all get in our groups, talk about the case study, come up with an answer, and then people from like the founders section or the executive section or the CEO section would come up and state the answers that their group made.
Right.
Cool and fun. I enjoyed learning from the founders and CEOs. I would have liked to see like Pat's team on stage with their outline of the case study, how they would assess it and why.
It's the answer.
Those are like, because that's who I came to see.
Right.
Like that, it wouldn't be maybe the only right answer, but I also came to see them do their work.
It's like in calculus when the teacher puts a question on the whiteboard 5 times and 5 different students come up and solve it, and then the teacher shows you how he would have solved it. And like, Jimmy and John got the same answer, but they took slightly longer and slightly less time to do it. Because it's the way I'm going to teach it.
It's cool to learn from other people in the group, but
Yeah.
and it's cool to network within them. But when I'm in a seminar, I want to learn from the person on stage.
That's what I liked about Doug Willard's Creo classes, is that you, me, and Doug can make the same part 5 different ways, but Doug can get there twice as fast and then make modifications to it easier because he used a symmetrical line to begin with, right?
Yeah.
And you and I didn't.
Yeah. And so there were tidbits of really good nuggets like that, right? Like the HR thing or the project management thing, or a few things in the seminar that I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'll pull that. Like something, or it was stuff that I'd heard before, but it was just said in a different way.
Right.
And I latched onto it more. For example, they talked about vision boards, which I'm sure that you've heard of. Like you paint the picture of your dream reality and do stuff like that. Like that was a really cool. It was nice to see them doing it, and he had some like personal videos of like him doing it with his kids and like how he implements it and like why it's important. And so it's like I'd heard the vision board before, but it was almost like a 4D lesson rather than a 3D lesson, right? Chris Williamson talks about like the lesson things. Sometimes he mentioned it with Alex Ramosi. He talked about like 4D lessons versus 3D lessons.
Oh, like these meta lessons with the $100 million books?
Not quite. It was a thing that Chris Williamson brought up where he was like, you can have a conversation with someone and they tell you about what they do and it's a 3D lesson. But then like if you actually go experience life with them and like see their lessons being experienced, it's a 4D lesson. So it's like seeing Pat implement the vision board was a 4D lesson for me, right? And that I really enjoyed. But there was a lot of material within the book that I felt like was more general based, but then it was like the most important things or that I saw were like really critical points were also kind of like just broad sweeping, just kind of like glazed over. In that aspect of it, I was like, I feel like this really should have been broken down more because we're, for example, like talked a ton about like company culture, which is important, and talked very, very little about understanding what you offer and why.
Right.
Where it's like what you offer and why and the product that you deliver, like if that's not good, nothing else works.
Well, the why creates company culture.
Yeah, right.
Like your product and why is what creates the company culture, right?
Yeah, and it more came from a base of like what kind of like brainstorming what kind of culture you want to have and then aligning your team with that culture. Whereas like I feel strongly that it should grow from the offer that you create. And the offer aspect within the book was very, very slim.
Right. It's like SpaceX is creating rockets for the purpose of getting to Mars and reusable spaceflight, right? That's the product and the why. And then the employees are capable of building the product, the spaceships, and then they are drawn philosophically and morally to the why, which is like the furtherment of humanity to interstellar travel. Right?
Yeah.
And then, Elon that's why employees are way happier at SpaceX than any other space companies, because they feel like, personally invested in the mission, right?
But so why is it important?
Right. But you didn't come up with a product and then hire a team and then kind of figure out what the why is and make them match each other. It's like you came up with a product and a why, and then you found people that matched the why. And you made the why really, really clear and prominent.
Yeah. And they talked a lot about like why you do what you do, right? And so there was that aspect to it. it was more of like the tactical understanding of like how do you implement the why tactically through your offer and your services.
Right.
That I would have really loved to see.
Right.
Right. Like really tactical breakdown. And there was a lot less of that.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, you can maybe at like when you buy a CEO level ticket, you get that.
Right.
Right. But if at the base level, I don't have, or close to base level, I don't have confidence that like a $20,000 ticket would get me there, I have a lot of reservation getting a $20,000 ticket. You know what I mean? If I could afford that. Right.
Right.
At least that's my mindset right now as documentation of like where I sit with it.
Yeah.
But overall, I definitely enjoyed the conference. Enjoyed it 100x more than being at work. That's for sure.
I think I could put you in some pretty uncomfortable situations, and you'd still appreciate that more than being at work.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, conference was really, really cool. I met some people. It was, I think one of my biggest learnings, and this is the last point I'll make, was that I've always really tried to dig into the small points. I know that you do this too, like really dig into like the small points and understanding like, okay, I have this thing and everyone else kind of just takes it for granted and glazes over it. But like, why is this thing this thing? Why is it the way it is?
It's bottom up
right?
processing. Yeah.
Exactly. And that digging in process, I'd seen like very little ROI and a lot of time invested into that. Going into this event, I understood exactly why that's important because that digging in process allowed me to have much more in-depth conversations
Right.
just about a topic that I had dug into with
Right.
the people around me, which was the only leverage point I had to talk with people who are like founder level.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that process also like it was a 4D lesson in the sense that like I don't have to be an expert on everything in e-commerce or dropshipping to provide value to someone else. Like I just had a couple things that I knew really well.
Right.
Right? Like I understood like the e-commerce offer that I was specifically running and why I was running. I didn't have 100 offers that I tested and all this other data about offers, but I understood why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And I also understood why I'm doing what I'm doing in advertising and the experiences and the case studies and tests that I have done and why they have performed the way they have performed.
Right.
Right. And so I just understood deeply why on these small subset things. And I had several people in the e-commerce space that are like, I really want to stay in touch because of like how you work and think through these problems.
Right.
Right. And it wasn't like I had the answers to all their questions. I just had in-depth. And so that like having that experience was like a real good, like, oh, like I understand why my brain is broken in this way. It's because I match people.
Not broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like shaped. It was awesome because I was like, the mindset matches people who are way farther ahead than I am.
Right.
Which was like A, reassuring, but B was I would say reassuring in the fact that like my thought process and how I go through processes is reflective of people who are successful. And
Right.
therefore, if I continue to produce volume and continue to work hard in this way and then continue to learn, I also have a very high probability of becoming successful.
Right. Well,
So that pairing was nice.
Layla and Alex talked about when they were taking Saran on as a partner for acquisition.com, when he was first introduced to the team there, he went through and spoke to every individual about what they did and why to lay the foundation. And then when he went into board meetings, he could provide value immediately because he went bottom up.
Yeah.
Right? I talked about this several months ago.
Yes.
And then I had the realization of, oh, this is why I'm so fucking insufferable for Grace to listen to, because everything I do is bottom up. So I lay like a very thick layer foundation of like why everything is. And then I explain stuff when sometimes that's over explaining, or sometimes it's me asking the why question 45 times in a row to get down to the like root of what's actually happening. And I feel that people all too often, and this was what was interesting to me earlier when you mentioned that there were other people who would talk about like, yeah, I just started my LLC, and like kind of not really pretend to have more success.
They don't even realize it though, because they don't even know any different, right?
Right. But like, I think that it's really easy to get caught up in like the very top level stuff where it's like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. When like you don't really like, you think you know what that person is talking about when they talk about an acronym that you might know but don't know. But it's so much more valuable to say, I don't know that term, explain it to me. Why?
Yes.
And then break down why.
I can't tell you how many times I was like the guy who manages the capital firm.
Dude, what was the thing the other week? It was like a CTM.
CPM, but
CPM, clicks per milli, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck? That it should be like clicks per dollar, right?
It was actually funny. I looked it up after our podcast to make sure it is 1,000. And then on a Hermosi podcast, I heard him say it's clicks per milli. And then he explained why milli is 1,000. It's because it's the French word for 1,000.
Oh my fucking god.
And so that's what they use for dumb.
That is dumb.
It is 1,000 though.
But it's a perfect example of how we and expressed through this podcast do ask the why and ask the like what does that mean, because everything, like if I skip past this word, everything else you say is going to make kind of sense to me, but if I understand this word, I can apply it to every word after that and it's all going to make sense.
Yeah.
And so many people will brush by it because they want the person that they're talking to think that they are worth talking to because they understand what the other person's saying. But the most effective way to make sure that the person you're talking to knows your understanding is to ask the clarifying questions.
Yeah. Because it also shows that you're listening. And at the end of the day, like a lot of those guys, like they go there to network and talk with other people. And like I thought about this and I was like, why did I sat down with someone who's like at the same level as me, and like we were just like kind of bouncing ideas off of each other and chatting, whatever. We spent like an hour and a half chatting. And I was like, I went to this event and like, why did I spend an hour and a half chatting with this person? I was like, oh, because like they're really driven and motivated and they really care. And I am open to spending my time to help someone who's driven and motivated and cares, even if there isn't a direct ROI on my time, because I value this person as another person who also is driven and motivated. Yeah. Inherently, right? And so like that was like, there's Grace, right?
I don't know. It's our car.
I thought it was
the car.
But anyways, like that's, so I realized if that's how I take it, and my mindset is really similar to how like people who are way ahead of me think, right? Then that's probably a core component of why I can sit down with someone and like have a really good conversation with for 3 hours with someone that's way ahead of me, because it's like they can see that like I am listening and I'm attentive and I care and I have drive and motivation. And I don't have all the answers, but what I do have, I have at least clarity on. Right. And so like that was a really cool experience, you know, and I can't tell you how many times I asked, like there was, it was actually a different person was talking about, some wealth management stuff when it came to like, credit cards and business cards, as well as structuring it as a rebate and like, like this other stuff. And I was like I asked, I was like, I don't know what you mean. It was some term. I actually forgot it now, funny enough, but it was some term that I mentioned. I was like, I don't know, like, what do you mean by that? Right. And they were like, and like, it wasn't like oh, you're so dumb for not knowing it. Like, they just like told me about it. And essentially the premise was that there are certain business cards, specifically with Capital One, that you can structure a point system so that it's a rebate back to you in cash rather than a point system back. Right. And the rebate is tax-free. And so it's advantageous to have a card that has a rebate of tax-free rather than a point system that's added back on your card, because that's still taxable. Right. But the rebate is not, because it's structured as a rebate, which is slightly different. And it's cash to you. Yeah. Right. And so that was really interesting. You know, that was essentially the premise of it, but there was some term in there that I didn't understand. I just asked a question. Right. And, you know, it's state the facts and tell the truth, right? Yeah.
But if you don't ask the clarifying questions of why, like this has happened to Everett a couple times. Like we'll be having a conversation and I'll be getting the head nods and the yeah. And like I'll explain everything and then he'll go, cool. And then like 10 minutes later, he'll ask a question that I've already answered, but he doesn't know that I answered it because he didn't ask the why at that point. Yeah. And that tells me that he's not listening and doesn't know. Yeah. Right. And it's not always that they're intentionally
or trying to listen and just like doesn't, isn't at that stage yet where like feels comfortable to just like ask why all the time.
Yeah. And one of my favorite quotes ever, I can't remember who said it, but it's you're in math class and the teacher asks if there's any questions. Would you rather raise your hand and look stupid and get the answer, or keep your hand down and be stupid? Yeah. Right. And I think that the answer is always to raise your hand, but I think it's common and understandable that people don't want to look dumb. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that was the conference in a nutshell. I did book my ticket for Vegas. That's where it's going to be next year. Just to walk it in, and I think that'll be cool. That'll be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to it. But it was interesting for me too, because I'm not a very big, like, I've always thought of networking as like a time waster. It's like, why talk about your problems when you can work on them instead?
Depends on how you network. Yeah.
Right. And I think that would have exactly been my experience if I didn't come in with like a very tactical, this is what I'm trying to figure out and do. Not even because I met like a ton of people who can help me right there. I met a few that are good.
Right.
But because just solely because I went in with something tactical and hands-on that's like, this is exactly what I'm looking for, it put me in a category where other people were like, oh, he's got his shit together, at least to some extent. And that
Right.
opened me up to conversations, even unrelated conversations, that were way better than what I would have had otherwise.
Right.
And so just that leverage point was like the highest ROI thing I could have done.
Right.
And so I wouldn't ever go to another conference where like I'm just going to like, hey, unless I just got like money to blow and time to waste, which I don't think will be the case.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like I'm not gonna go to another conference where I'm just like, I'm just gonna like go and just
I'm here
kind
to
of
learn.
feel things out. Right. It's like, no, I want to go with something tactical because
Right.
even if the tactical thing I get answered by one person,
Right.
the having a tactical thing and thinking through that opens up your mind and experience to someone else who can provide value in some other direction because it's just something that you connect on mentally from a framework perspective.
Right.
And so that was cool. But
Well, it's a clear goal in mind, right? So like if you
yeah.
come with a shirt that says, "Help me with this problem,"
Mm.
right? And you're talking to someone and they read your shirt and they're like, "I don't know how to help you with this, dog." You can be like, "Sounds good." On to the next person, right?
Yeah.
And then with the people who think that they can help you, then they can actually help you get to your goal, right? But if you go in with just like a vague like, "I don't really know what I'm looking for here. I'm just here to learn TM."
Mhm.
Um you can get some nuggets out of it, but it's much more fuzzy. It's less clear and direct, right?
Yeah, yeah. That was my personal take. That's all I had for the conference.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. Met some really good people, some really cool businesses, some other people in ecom.
Yeah.
Um, and really enjoyed it overall. It was
So
good.
the Charlie Kirk's assassination happened in the
Oh
middle of the
yes, thank you.
conference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that happened. And Pat didn't mention it immediately because he was on stage and didn't have access to his phone. He went backstage, and then Tony Robbins was at the event, and
Right.
so he came out and did his kind of like seminar portion, which was incredible. Part of the reason I renewed actually was you got a free ticket to any Tony Robbins event for the next year
Oh, that's
if you renewed.
dude. The you invited me last week, and the honestly one of the biggest pulls to going was to watch Tony Robinson
It was
present.
incredible.
And then I thought about it, and I was like, with the way that the rest of my life is working out, just with my schedule, it's probably best to not go. But like one of the things that was like I should probably cancel everything was like watching Tony Robinson perform,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Robbins.
Robin. Yeah, that was really really cool. But then Pat came out after Tony Robbins, and he came out and like he came up on stage and he was like, Charlie Kirk is dead. And like there was like a couple people who like screamed like no, like in like no way, like they
Right.
didn't know, and then like whole audience was silent. Um and like I don't remember everything that happened after that point. He gave a little spiel, and then they had like it was a ballroom with 10,000 people, and Pat's Christian as well. It was a lot of like his base as well as his like team are,
Yeah.
and so he held a like a prayer right then and there that was like a 30-second prayer, and it was really powerful being in like a space of 10,000 people all aligned on like that one this one event.
Well,
Like, that was, like, really moving.
people didn't know he was dead yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and it like, that experience was, like, really moving and shocking.
I will say this though, when you watch the video, you know immediately.
Yeah.
Like there's no question. Like the people who saw the video or saw it in person know right away. But
Yeah.
I saw someone else talking about it. First responders don't have the legal ability to pronounce someone dead. A doctor has to. So like no one is ever pronounced dead unless it's by a doctor. So it's either the doctor's at the scene.
Yeah.
Like you ever seen the guy on the airplane check his pulse and he's like dead 4:45 p.m. He can do that because he's a doctor. But usually, in Charlie's case, there wasn't a doctor around, so he had to get back to the hospital. But like you can see in the video.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard a couple people comment on it, and they were like, you could tell he wasn't gonna you could tell he was dead immediately."
There were signs, there's analyses and stuff too that indicate that he wouldn't have felt any pain or maybe even know that it happened.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. It's but yeah, that moment was like really moving to have like all 10,000 people in that room align. It
right.
was interesting because like Pat's best friend is a pastor, and
Mhm.
so he led the prayer.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know, like, that was really moving because he was, like, right there
Right.
next to him on the stage.
Right.
And so that was a really powerful experience too. But yeah, it was, overall, the conference was, really good. A couple of things that, like, I wish had been a little bit different here or there or whatever, but,
Yeah.
um, I think I got a lot of value out of it. I
Awesome.
really enjoyed it. Um, Hopefully the couple people I sent your way will prove fruitful.
I've got a bullet point about one of them.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Um, but yeah, those were people I had like 30-minute conversations with in line and try to get a decent base going
Right.
in terms of like, hey, like I'm I'm not just like a spammer for your contact info. So I try to get that base and then throw in together like, hey, I also got a friend,
Yeah.
right? But that is my whole business update. My
Awesome.
my very brief future outlook for this week is meetings with the people that I met, as well as creating more advertisements,
Cool.
as well as filming B-roll based on the
Fashion designer.
the fashion designer feedback that she gave me in terms
Yeah.
of color contrast and having something that's eye-catching as an opener.
Yeah.
Potentially going to try and leverage some AI hooks. I talked to my mentor about it, and he said that he tried AI hooks. His audience is also mothers, and he said that his AI hooks did not do well.
Yeah.
Right, but I want to try it for myself a little bit too, and also try always at volume.
Yeah.
And so one of the ideas, or a few of the ideas I have, are I want to throw the box up in the air and then have it land on the camera and it go black, and then it like just like fun hooks like that where like the box jumps up in the air and then it lands on the camera.
Yeah.
Right, it hits the camera, it's black, and then it quickly changes to like the ground phone either being assembled or playing.
Right.
Right, so just like things to catch your attention. Or like, I saw a video clip of like someone tripped down a stairs and like their shoe fell off, and then they pulled out like a string with a piece of paper on it from the shoe, and it was like, your marketing sucks. And it was like the best hook ever. It
Yeah.
killed, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to do something like that with the box where it like falls off and then opens up, and then it's like it pulls out into a pan, and then it like develops into the screen, and then it shows the gramophone,
Right.
right? Like, or one where it's like a nice little mat on the beach as the sun's coming up and the gramophone is just playing, and I just have like nice B-roll pan of the gramophone playing, or it being assembled or whatever I want to do, right?
Right.
So stuff like that. I want to get some better color contrast B-roll to
Mhm.
play with for the hook, but that's all I got. Very long-winded business update.
Sweet, dude. It's a good one though.
Yeah, it's just solid, I think.
Packed with value. I think
Hopefully.
mine's shorter this week. So I have a few client updates, not as many as usual, and that's good and bad. So the out of state clients strike back again this week. Grace and I are in the middle of like the only day that we have not worked on work until like 9 p.m. In like months. But we're in the middle of doing like her birthday stuff, and then we get a message from them, and they're like, "Hey, our dream house out of state. Uh, the deal is no good. We're dropping it because it's like a basket case. There's a bunch of shit wrong with the house. Are you guys down to help us find a house in Brevard County again? We managed to get like our job back or whatever. Um, and I was like, okay, same thing as before. Okay, but here's the difference. This time, I'm not dropping everything for these people, right? Before, and this is how I treat all my clients. If I'm able to stop doing what I'm doing right now to help you, I will. But what I have shown is that that is never fruitful because there are things that we bring up ahead of time, like, oh, the what's something that they haven't liked so far? VA loans, right? There's a couple houses where we're like, hey, there's this house, it looks good. And they're like, oh, we love it. And we go, yes, but just so you know, they don't accept VA loans. It's only conventional or cash. And they go, that's fine. Let's look anyway. We drop everything. We go find everything about the house. We put an offer together. And then they go, oh, well, if they're not accepting VA, then I don't want it. And I'm like, okay, well, I did tell you that before I dropped everything, right? And so Grace and I are at our birthday thing. And I was like, hey, they're asking for help again. I do want to help them, but I'm not dropping everything. And that's evidence, like, we're going to set the precedent right now. And so I texted them back and I was like, hey, we will help you again. We're doing Grace's birthday thing right now, so we'll help you tomorrow. Right. And they were like, okay, sounds good. And so then starting the next day, we started to help them again. And so we did a virtual showing for 2 properties this week. And they did tell us, they were like, hey, we're sick of like running in circles trying to get a house. Like, we're ready to actually do this thing. Right. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I know from working with them previously that like they'll throw a bunch of shit at the wall and see what sticks, and then they'll like send like kind of lowball offers for whatever reason it is. So we'll see. If they submit an actual offer, then I'll believe that they are ready to genuinely start moving forward, right? And if it is something that they want to do, then I'm here to help. And so I have written here one last ride. And so that's what we're doing. So we sent them a chunk of listings, like Grace pulled up an MLS list real quick and sent it to them. They found 2 houses that they like. We went and did virtual showings for both. They decided to put an offer on one of them, and it is a reasonable offer. I would say it's even a good offer. It's $5,000 over asking price with $5,000 credit at closing, which essentially means at closing, they don't have to pay cash to pay those closing costs that day. Then and there. So essentially, they're not rolling that chunk into the mortgage. They're getting that taken off at the closing table so that they don't have to pay so much at the closing table. Contingent to all the inspections and stuff like that. It's a good offer. So we wrote that offer for them on Friday. We sent it over to them like later Friday night, and they go to bed a little earlier, and they were like, "Okay, cool, sounds good. We'll sign it first thing in the morning, and we're gonna get the pre-approval letter." Right? They haven't signed it yet. It's Sunday, and so one of 2 things could be happening, right? One, they could be flaking again, as they have in the past. But they said they were serious. They were serious on the phone when we did the tour. And then they asked us to write a serious offer. So I'm more inclined to think they don't have the pre-approval letter from their lender yet, so we can't really submit the offer seriously anyways. So they're just waiting for the pre-approval. So if we don't hear anything from them by like noon tomorrow, then we're gonna send a message and be like, "Hey, what's up?" But hopefully this is real and hopefully it goes through. We've already talked to the listing agent for the house. The house seems to be in pretty good shape. And the listing agent has told us that it's his first listing that he's doing. It's his first sale. And so I think I have reason to believe that he's based on the west coast of Florida and he's selling a house on the east coast. So he's not in the city and he is new, right? And so we're kind of helping him through it. So for example, we asked him, "Hey, what escrow company are you guys using?" Essentially, in Brevard, I think I talked about this last week. It's customary for the sellers to pick the title company and thus escrow company, and then they pay the associated costs at closing, right? Other counties do it differently. So when we were looking at houses the other week on the West Coast, there was an agent there that was like, "Hey, you guys pick the title company and you guys pay for those fees." And our buyers were like, "We don't want to do that." Totally fair position, just different cultures, right?
Yeah.
But this guy, we were like, "Hey, just so you know, I see you're on the West Coast, right? In Brevard County, the seller picks the escrow company." And he was like, "We don't have an escrow company." And we were like, "Okay, we can make a recommendation, but like you have to pick one." And then he was like, "I'll be honest, this is my first sale and I'm not really sure what that means." And we were like, "Dude, awesome. We're happy to explain." And so then with like Grace talked him through, what that process kind of looks like in picking an escrow company and stuff like that. Which is really awesome. I so appreciate, similar to you at the conference, being like, "Hey, I'm new and don't know what I'm doing." And that is super helpful.
Yeah.
And so I really I'm so happy with him sharing that because not only is it an opportunity to help somebody, but it's an opportunity to not take advantage of somebody. Because one of the reasons I decided to go into real estate is that I see scumbag realtors all over the place and I see clients and other agents being taken advantage of. And this is an awesome opportunity to genuinely help the listing agent where we can. So that was awesome. So we're pending, right?
Yeah.
Pending submission of an offer. Um, we also heard back from our investor client on a home that they're looking to flip or rent out. Um, we had submitted an offer a month ago on a house that they picked some other offer. I knew the agent. They said that their buyers were flaky. There could be an opportunity to make an offer again. That opportunity came. We told our client ahead of time. They said, "Let me think about it," and then the offer expired. Like the time passed, right? Um, and so that client talked to us later in the week, and they were like, "Hey, they shared some personal family developments, and I understand why they didn't make the call right then and there. But as a result of those personal developments, they might be even more on board with buying a home now to rent out, which is good news. But it's a bummer that they missed out on this one because this one was like a slam dunk deal. Um,
Yeah.
so those are my client updates.
Cool.
My first bullet point is that you made an introduction for me with the guy from the PBD Vault Conference who is a real estate investor and he makes his exits through novation agreements. Do you know what a novation agreement is?
No. I kind of got like a sort of framework on it, but
The TLDR, you own a house, right?
yeah.
It's not in great shape, but pretend you own the duplex you live in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Rough around the edges. I'm a real estate investor. I contact you and I say, "Hey, I see, you're about to go under foreclosure. You're late on your property taxes. You're late on your mortgage payments. You're about to go under foreclosure, right? I would like to invest money to improve your house. Let's say that the duplex is worth 400,000 right now. I'm going to put in money to make it better. And then I'm going to get a real estate agent and we're going to sell the house for whatever amount of money. We agree that it's worth $400,000 today. So when we close, I'm going to give 400,000 straight to you, and then I'm going to keep the remainder for however much more I can sell it by what I improve it for, right? This is very similar to wholesaling. The difference with wholesaling is the real estate investor buys the house and then sells the contract of the house to someone else,
Mm.
right? So they technically own the contract for the property. But in novation agreements, they don't ever own the property. So the investor takes on a lot more risk, right? Um, and so essentially the way that our mutual friend, this novation guy, works is he'll find people with houses that need work. He'll sign a novation agreement with them and then start improving the house. It can be while they live there or they can move. It doesn't matter. And then he'll sell the house and then keep the profit, right? And so as a real estate agent working with him, I have one of two options. I can either help him find people who would be open to selling their house via novation agreement, essentially guarantee getting the money that they think the house is worth. Or once he has a home that he's fixed up and is now ready to sell it, I can help him market it and sell it. That's how novation agreements work. Um, Pretty cool stuff. So I started learning more about like the technical component of novation agreements, and I actually found a guy on YouTube who is a real estate investor who goes like really in detail in this stuff. And he kind of shit talked real estate agents in the breakdown of it, because he was like, most real estate agents don't know what this is, right? Like they are just trying to get the house sold. They don't fucking care about any of this stuff, and thus they're not like really super qualified to work these deals. And that's not technically true because real estate agent's job is to sell the house, right? And so novation agreement or not, they're just trying to sell the house. As long as the paperwork is done properly, it's fine. Most brokerages have real estate lawyers that can help you make sure the property is done okay. Really, what most real estate agents do is market and sell the property. But I really am interested in the real estate investment component of things. And I think that I'm able to sell homes better if I know the history of the home, including any real estate deals going on. I know all the parties involved. I know what the condition and state of the house is, so I can speak to it more informed, right?
Mhm.
And so I started watching a lot more of his stuff. And it's super interesting the different ways that you can invest in real estate. It's not just like buying a home and putting a tenant in it or buying property and then sitting on it for years. There's like a lot of different things you can do that are super cool. So I'm going to start watching this guy more regularly to start to understand the real estate investment side of things. Um, so yeah, it's cool. I'm wondering also for novation agreements, if I contact the real estate investor and I say, "Hey, I have someone who owns kind of a shit house. They're interested in doing a novation agreement and selling it. I'll bring you this option, and then I want a chunk of your profits as well as the real estate commission that I earn." I don't know if that's legal or not yet. I have
Mhm.
to double check. I do know agents who have done this, although I don't think they knew it was a novation agreement, but they have brought opportunities to investors and then have sold that house and then got a cut of the actual investment chunk.
Got it.
I don't know if that's legal. I have to double check.
Hmm.
But it could be cool. So that's my first bullet point. That's not clients. My next bullet point is last week, when Grace started looking for a job that's going to get real estate leads and pay for the
Oh,
student
yeah.
loans. I started reaching out to people I know, because at the time we had like 0 clients. Like these out of state clients hadn't come back to us yet. And so I started messaging people and I was like, "Hey, who do you know who wants to buy a house?" And most people were like, "I don't know anybody." You're good. Um, but one person replied and said, "I don't know anybody, but I did just get this in the mail." And he sent me an invite to the Ogali Yacht Club event.
Hmm.
So the Ogali Yacht Club is the yacht club that Space Coast crew used to rent out for the end of year banquets. So I've been before. But over the last 4 years, they tore the whole thing down and rebuilt it like basically from the ground up. They did a lot of
Nice.
improvements. And so this was their big grand reopening.
Mm.
And so they held a big event for members and friends of members to RSVP and come. And the whole point of the event is they're showcasing all the upgrades to try to get people to become members or to introduce it to real estate agents to go find real estate agent clients and push them toward being members, right? And so it was really awesome because I was invited and I RSVP'd not with the intention of being sold a membership, but with the intention of collecting as much information on the place as possible to go show to other clients, right? And so everybody there was treating the people who are like you've got a little name tag and it's like, "Hi, I'm a potential member." And so they would always like really ham it up to you and be like, "Oh, it's just so wonderful. We have so much fun with the parties." But mine said realtor. And so when I would go up and I'd be like, "Talk me through the organizational structure of like who's in charge here, and like where does HR fall, and who's your event coordinator, and how does it work? What's the pricing model look like? And they would talk to me more as like an engineer than as like a potential like I'm not being sold.
Got it.
They're giving me information, which was really cool. And a lot of people who are prospective clients, what I kind of realized about this, but first of all, it's a gorgeous place, right? They've got um, a big banquet hall. They've got like 3 bars. They've got a tennis courts, like a small gym, a full bar and grill, boat slips for big boats, small boats. They've got boat lifts, like dry docks, like a sailing club. It's a cool place.
Mm.
They did a really nice job with it, and the staff was super nice and friendly. Um, but I was asking some pretty detailed questions on everything, and they were super cool and they answered everything. It's a $25,000 membership, one-time fee. You pay half up front, and then you can finance the other half if you want. So you can finance 2,500 or $12,500 over like X number of
Yeah.
years. And then there's like a $200 a month fee on top of that or something like that. That's recurring. So that's basically how they make their money. And I was kind of surprised because I know of other yacht and country clubs that are like 30K a year period, and that's just what they charge. Um, so this is surprisingly more affordable, right?
Yeah.
But they've got some other cool stuff too. They've got conference rooms that you can rent out. They've got a boardroom, like kind of similar to the one we're in, but it's got like a fireplace and stuff that's super fancy. They've got valet that are working like 24/7. And I actually made a point at every stop because we would go to a section, they'd talk about it, like we'd hang out and eat and then go to the next section. And I would make a point to go up to the employees and talk to them about like, hey, valet guy, how much do you get tipped per car? When do people come here most often? Are people polite to you? Are people rude? I talked to the lady running the event. I pulled her aside and I kept her captive for like 20 minutes and asked her like a shitload of questions. But I was like, obviously, you vet your members before you let them in. Is there a membership cap? Yes, there is. They're capped at 900. They're 27 members away. Usually, they don't get put on a waiting list. But while they were renovating everything, they did have a waiting list. Usually, the waiting list clears up within a number of months. There's a certain number of boat slips. It's entirely packed. So if you do get a new member that wants to keep their boat there, they have to wait for a slip to open. They've got 2 main docks. One is for smaller boats. One is for larger boats. So if you have a client with a larger boat, they could be waiting. It's first come, first serve. So you could be waiting months. Could be like a year. Um, some people are like 50-year members and have had their boat in the same slip for that entire time. So you never really know. They have only had to. They've never denied someone membership. So generally, they have like pretty quality people applying for membership, and they've only had to kick someone out of the yacht club once. And it seemed like a super outlier situation. So generally speaking, the people that are in the yacht club are really cool.
Cool.
So that's all good to know. And what's interesting is I was in a tour group. The people running the tour were long-term members that help coordinate events, but aren't like a member of staff, right? And I was in a group with a few other realtors and then a few prospective members, right? So like people with money who want to hang out, and then real estate agents who might also be interested in being members, right? It's a good way to meet people, right? They have in their restaurant, they've got specific tables with like little like wooden boats on them. And if you sit at that table, you're signaling to other people, hey, I'm here alone and I'm looking for friends. If I'm sitting at the boat table, come sit down with me and talk, right? Really easy way to meet people. Something that I noticed is that everybody there was dressed nice. Grace noticed that a lot of them had fake designer bags. Everybody was drunk. Like, everybody was drunk. Not the staff so much. There was one staff member, who was our tour guide who was, like, plastered. Like, she spilled her drink on herself in the first 10 minutes of giving our tour, and then she disappeared halfway through the tour to go sit at the bar with some of the, like, prospective members, which, like, yeah, indoctrinate people, like, accept people into the club however you want to. But in terms of, like, me getting a membership and hanging out there, I'm not a drink and hang out kinda guy, but it seems like the whole purpose of the yacht club is to hang out and have a good time. Like, that is a social club where you go to relax and hang
Yeah.
out. And previously, I had thought, "Oh, a yacht club, you're probably there like a golf course to, like, do business. Like, you're there to talk and hang out," right? But the vibe that I got was, like, they throw parties, people get there for dinner. It kind of felt like a VFW where, like, you get there to drink and, like,
Mm.
have fun. And so that was really insightful in terms of what kind of people would I recommend going to a yacht club, and this yacht club in particular. Um and it actually came in handy. Oh, and then they ended it by giving us a free bottle of wine when we left, which was
Oh,
super cool.
that's nice.
Yeah, it was super nice. The staff was fantastic, and Heather, the lady running the event, was like phenomenal. And this information actually came in handy like 2 days later. Grace and I did an open house in Merritt Island, up by the Barge Canal, And it was actually a really cool house. It's listed for 669,000, and it's way overpriced, and the seller knows it. They inherited it from a family member, and I think that they might be struggling with the mortgage payments or property tax payments because they need to get the house sold. But we got there and like we pulled up, and the listing agent called us, and they said, "Hey, heads up, the air conditioning broke last night, and we don't know if the owners got it fixed or not. They don't live in the house, but they've been like trying to clean it out of all the personal belongings and stuff. So we don't know if it's fixed or not. And it's also a mess in there. I'm so sorry." Like the listing agent was really cool about it. But the whole premise was like the client has not done what the listing agent has asked to make the house marketable. And so we went in and like personal belongings were kind of all over the place, which is abnormal in an open house. Usually either the person lives there and like their stuff is all over, but it's clean, or no one lives there and it's completely gutted and empty and like staged, maybe
Yeah.
furnished or not furnished, right? But this one was like no one has lived here for a while, but like it's kind of like the garage, you know, how like
Yeah.
people's garages are messy, but inside the house. And not every room was messy, but like there was stuff where it shouldn't be when you're trying to market a home. And
Yeah.
so the listing agent was like, "Listen, we know that it's priced too high, but like we just want an offer. So like please do what you can to get us an offer. We're willing to negotiate on price." And the house was really cool. When you walk in, there's these like big, gorgeous wooden doors that you open. And when you open them, it doesn't go inside. You open it into like a courtyard. It's like a little,
Oh.
it's a courtyard with a pool and like a mother-in-law suite right here. And then there's big glass sliding doors where the kitchen is. And then the actual front door, which goes into the living room, like foyer thing. It was really cool. 2 stories, like it was 3,300 square feet for 660,000. I have done open houses at homes on the canal with no dock for a third the price. Or I'm sorry, for $200,000 more and a third of the square footage. So like way smaller places on a canal for more money. The amount of house you get for your money in this place is fucking crazy. Um, and the fact that they're willing to negotiate is even more crazy. Like if you could get this house for like 540, 550, that you're getting a crazy deal, like a super steal. The pool looks to be in good condition and everything. Um, and we had some groups come through. And one of the groups were like friendly, outgoing people who are around retirement age, and they're moving because their current home, they thought it would be a more communal community of people who want to hang out. Instead, it's kind of like isolated older folks who are just rotting in their homes, so they want to move to someplace more engaging. And I got to plug the O'Galley Yacht Club, and I was like, dude, we just got out of this event with people. They're super friendly. I think you'd love it there. It's a drive from the barge
Mm.
canal down to the O'Galley Yacht Club. But if you're a member at the O'Galley Yacht Club, you're a member at all Florida yacht clubs. So, you know, I don't know if there's one closer to this house. I should check. But it was a cool little thing. And those people were actually friendly. They left their contact information. And it seemed like they wanted to be in touch. So Grace and I reached out to them last night to ask them if there's anything else we could do for the home. We took a video walkthrough of the home, and we didn't have MLS sheets printed out at the open house. And so when we emailed them, we were like, "Hey, it was awesome meeting you. We want to give you something a little extra than just attending the open house. So here's a video walkthrough so you can like, look back at everything you saw earlier and the MLS sheet with all the information. Is there anything else like we can help you? How are your other open houses? Because they had gone to other open houses that day. Um, we're here to help you." So I really liked them. I think they really liked us. Hopefully that actually turns into clients. This is the closest I have felt a lead from an open house to potentially turn into a client. So that's really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. My next bullet point is on the people database I'm doing. I went through my yearbooks to
Mhm.
catalog everybody, right? I have now finished going through everyone and following them on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, pulling them up in white pages to get their phone number and stuff. There's a handful of folks that I don't recognize the name and I can't really find their social media, so I have to cross reference with the yearbooks. But like, I think I'm 98% of the way there. It's mostly done. So now I have to go in and add the people from my actual phone contacts and then start calling them. And so my intention was to start calling them last week, but I held off on it because I was like, okay, these are warm lead outreach, right? They already know me. They're familiar with who I am and what I do, hopefully from social media. So how do I nail these phone calls and not waste it? Because I don't want to pick up the phone and be like, "Hi, like I want you to buy a house from me." Like that's not what I want to do, right?
Right.
it's a sales call, but I don't want it to feel like a sales call, but I also don't want to be inauthentic and make it seem like it's not a sales call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I started listening to some of Hormozy's stuff on it, and he was like, "Here's what you got to do: pull up their social media accounts, find some of the recent things that they have going on in their life, right? And then when you call them, introduce yourself as yourself because you already know them, and then make a remark about what's going on in their life. Hey, I just saw you got married. Congratulations. I wanted to reach out to celebrate you guys. And let you know that I'm in real estate, and if you guys are looking to settle down and have kids and have a family, I'm in real estate. I can help you. And then there's a different way you can spin it where you say like, hey, I'm in real estate and I'm trying to find people who are interested in buying or selling a home. Who do you know? With the implication being, I'm not selling you. I'm just looking for people who you might know. And then if they're interested, then they'll pipe up.
Mm.
But I started looking through a lot of Hormozy stuff, and I was like, okay, there's a technique to this that I can really easily botch if I don't pay attention to it. And I don't want to, I'm totally fine making bulk phone calls and fucking up a lot of them. That's what I've done with my Facebook leads is
Yeah.
I just call them and I'm like, hey, this is Mason. Like you reached out for a home equity report. And like, I kind of wing it. I'm pretty fluent when it comes to talking to new people. So that's not a problem. But these are warm leads that I don't want to learn lessons on for the first 100 and then be like, oh, I just fucked up the first 100 that I can't get back. Cause you get new Facebook leads every day. You don't get new people you went to high school with every day, right?
Mm.
And so now that my database is done, I'm going to go through and start adding bullet points for these people. And then I'll call them and use the Hormozy methods there.
Cool.
Yeah. And funny enough, one of my Facebook leads, I'm still following up. I haven't run ads in a few weeks, but I still have leads from the ads that I send texts and emails and calls to. And one of the guys who responded to my Facebook ad is like in his 80s, right? And I pick up the phone. Um, no one picks up these calls, right? And so he answers and he's like, hello. And I'm like, hey, this is Mason. How you doing, Willis? And he was like, I think his name's Willis. And he was like, oh, I'm good. Like, how are you? And I was like, I'm good. I got your message the other week asking for a report on how much your home might be worth. And he was like, oh, yeah, I remember you. And I was like, oh, no shit, dude. He's in his 80s and he actually remembers. He was like, what company are you with? And I'm like, Blue Marlin. And he was like, yeah, yeah. And he goes, hey, did you ever help sell person's name, insert here, house? And I'm like, what? And then I think about it. I did an open house like 3 weeks ago. And this guy has been in my Facebook roster for like months, right? And I have texted him and emailed him and called him, but I never leave a message, right? Because I don't want them to block my number. I don't want to give a sales pitch through a voicemail. I want to talk to them on the phone. Um, and I realized Grace and I did an open house in Merritt Island a while ago, and an old guy came through who's a neighbor, and he talked our ear off for like 2 hours. And like there were actually other people in the house that left when he came in because he was like bringing that kind of like old guy, like I'm here to talk energy. Um, which is fine. He's not a serious buyer, but he had kind of talked about how much his home might be worth, and he's done a lot of upgrades to it, and he doesn't know if he's going to sell or not. He's not sure. And then he left, right? I didn't know it. At that point in time, he had already clicked on my ad and he was in my Facebook
Oh.
lead thing. And so on the phone, I'm making this connection in my head and I'm like, oh yeah, man. We started looking into it and like looking into the area and yeah, because that's true. But we couldn't find your house. Would you give me your address one more time? He was like, sure. So he gives it to me. And I was like, okay, cool. We'll get back to you. So now Grace and I are gonna go run a CMA on that house. But I was like, what a crazy fucking like
Yeah.
it's so funny because while we were in the open house, he got a call from his daughter on his Apple Watch. And he goes,
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
he just like hits it with like 3 fingers and like it's the whole watch gets fucked up. He actually hits himself. His daughter's like, hello, dad. He's like, man. And he just like keeps hitting until it goes away. And he's like, I should probably go home. I'm in trouble. And he's like a funny guy. But it's so funny because as soon as he left, I told Grace, I was like, those are the people clicking on my Facebook ads right now. That's literally a person who clicked on my Facebook ad.
Right.
So funny. But it was my first successful Facebook ad lead phone call. So now we're gonna go run a CMA on his house for him. It's interesting because not many houses have sold in that neighborhood. And so we're gonna have to kind of get creative with it. I'm gonna reach out to the listing agent for the open house that we were doing and say, hey, what challenges have you run into trying to sell this house? What are people's biggest objections? We want to overcome that if we end up selling a house in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that was good. That was positive. And let's see what I'm doing here. My lesson learned this week is kind of weak, so I'm not sure if I want to include it. Okay, I'm just going to do it here. So, the progress that I was following with people database, bullet points of what's going on in their life, call them to sell them. um, Grace kind of stopped me and she was like, okay, cool. We well established we can help buyers, right? What if there's someone in the list that you're calling and they need help selling their house? And I was like, oh, cool. Well, we'll get them in on a listing appointment and then we'll go from there. And she was like, yeah, but a lot of people want clarification in the phone call before you get into a listing appointment. And I was like, that's true. Like, I don't want to like postpone everything to a listing appointment. I want to have some type of strategy, right? And she was like, if someone sat down with you today and was like, hey, I need help selling my house, what can you do as a real estate agent? What would you say? And I was like, well, okay, you do this standard, obviously, like take photos, take videos, run Facebook ads, call your current like people distribution, right? You have like a big open house with like a food truck and stuff. But like, I don't know, like that type of stuff. That's like our marketing plan right now. Our marketing plan right now is really fuzzy, and I'm personally not happy with it because it doesn't have like any Hormozy magic in there, right? Um, and so Grace was like, before you call these people, we should clarify what the product is and what our offer is. And I was like, okay, that's a good point. Especially with Grace having to get a job to cover the student loan payments right now, I am very much feeling the same thing that every other real estate agent does when they start making calls that feel like sales calls, which is I am not closing right now. I want to be closing right now. I need to get on the phone with people and sell them.
Mm.
And that's when you make mistakes, right? That's when you get commission breath and that's when you start to not serve the client for their best interest and that's where you just try to make closes, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the agent that I want to be. So although it's difficult for me right now to press the pause button when I already feel like I'm not making a ton of progress with the investor client dropping out and the out-of-state clients not closing, like I already feel like I'm falling behind with this stuff and I want to get on the phone and talk to people.
Yeah.
I think what's best is to pause, solidify my offer and product, and then go sell it. Because right now, basically what I'm selling is I have the knowledge and I have the work ethic, but I have no real direction to push that into. So what I
Yeah.
started doing when I finished the people database is putting together my actual housing, my marketing pitch, right? My what am I going to do to help get a house sold? And I started from scratch. I just like clear brained it. And I actually really want to get you and Grace in a Florida tech room with a whiteboard again. Cause the last time we did that for our business, we had a lot of awesome ideas that were
Oh yeah.
hugely
Yeah.
valuable. So my intent here is to get a foundation laid, polish it to the best of my ability, and then sit down with you and Grace and have you guys like rip it apart and add to it in a Florida tech room, right?
Hmm.
So here's the basic premise, early edition, right? What what marketing is most successful for Hormozy?
Well, I mean, paid ads is where he made all his money. But
Sure. I'm
what
thinking
do you?
live events. The live events is what made a shitload of money recently, right?
Yeah, fair.
Is like hyping up and launching live events. And there's a saying in real estate which is if you don't launch a listing, then it lingers and that's bad for the seller, right? So like if you don't get a lot of attention right away and you just like quietly put it on the market and then the days on market slowly ticks up, it doesn't matter what type of advertising you do. If it's been on the house for 80 days, like people kind of feel like there's something wrong with it, even though there might not be, right?
Hmm.
And so it's important to have a powerful launch. And so I started thinking about that and repeatedly in the money models presentation, he talked about the value of having a powerful launch. And he has like this whole big fucking book on it that is in the special edition thing. That was the only book that you could only get if you ordered it during the live,
Hmm.
right? Everything else you could get that offer after the live ended, but that book is the only thing that you could get during the live, right? If you
The
did the multi donations.
the playbooks in AI haven't been offered yet externally.
But you could get that through Monday after the lives were done.
Oh, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the one thing that he was like, you can only get this while you see my face speaking live to you is this book on how to launch events, which
Yeah.
tells me that that's important. And if I think about the fundamentals of advertising for Hormozy, the whisper tease shout is the first thing that comes to my mind. And whisper tease shout is leading up to a launch, right? And so I kind of thought to myself, well, what if I treat every house that I'm selling like a Hormozy launch? Like, what if I whisper tease shout for everything? It's really common for agents to say, hey, I can get your house sold the next number of days. As soon as you sign the listing agreement with me, I'm going to have photographers out the next day and then a video made 2 days after that. And like, I have like a 21-day marketing campaign where like every day I release something new on social media, right? And the whole intent being like, get it done like as fast as possible. But I kind of reframed that into thinking, well, what if I don't try to get stuff out there on day one right away? What if instead I follow Whispertee's shout and the day I get the listing, I post a coming soon thing, which is essentially like, hey, I have a house that's coming on the market soon in this area, in this neighborhood. If you're interested, reach out to me. And then I post slightly more teasers and slightly more teasers. And, eventually I get to the point of actually releasing the listing video. But the intent of all these ads being, we are doing a mega open house to launch this house, right?
Yeah.
We're only accepting offers. Like we are submitting offers to the seller at the end of this open house or the end of the day of the open house. So incentivizing people to come in person to look at the house because, it's going to sell that day. And then also make an offer on that day. Right. So instead of releasing content over the course of 21 days and then like hoping that you get an offer by then, instead we release content over the course of 21 days with like the milestone marker being the mega open house. So that means that this live event has to include a lot of value, right? It has to be worth going to in person, right? Especially if you're house hunting and looking for other things. So I have this, here's the benefit of using my laptop because I actually have this sheet opened up that I started brainstorming in yesterday. Um, so something that, the benefit to this is I can just think about what Hormozy did at his live event that made me want to go, and then I can just replicate that. I have a cheat code.
Mhm.
So something that everybody does for like a big open house is they have food trucks there, right? So they'll get like the Kona Ice truck or a food truck, and they pay the food truck X number of dollars, and then they'll like give out the food for free to people, right? So it's
Yeah.
free to get food if you go to the open house, right? And I'm trying to think of other stuff I can have. I could do like free merch, maybe that could be cool. There's a local company that makes cookies. Her name is Tracy. It's called Tracy's Cookies. They're fucking phenomenal. I love them so much. And I actually ran into her in an event a couple weeks ago, and she was like, "Hey, if you guys ever have events for real estate and you want cookies, let me know. I'll cater it." So
Mm.
now I'm thinking, oh, okay, cool. These cookies are so good that I go out of my way to order these cookies. Like I message her on her website and then I go pick them up in person from like a location.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a store. So that is worth people coming to these open houses alone, right? But what else can I add? The big, big, big thing with Hormozy that made me dial into the live event is he held a box that was roughly the size of a shoebox. And he said, everybody who comes gets a special gift. You can only get it at the live event. It's worth less than a Bitcoin and more than an NFT. So vague mystery has monetary value, right? That was such a hard pull and a hard draw. It's why Grace called into it, right?
Mm.
And I could do the exact same thing. I have a cardboard box with Blue Marlin branding on it. I could make it the size of a shoebox and have the same shit. Okay, what am I going to put in that box? Because Hormozy put the Lost Chapters book in there, right? And I don't have a book. So what do I have that I could provide value in here, right? So I started thinking of some stuff and brainstorming it. So I actually thought of it's a VIP gift, right? It's a valuable information package for very important people. So it's a double VIP. That's just how I'm referencing it. I don't think we'll
Cool.
actually put that on any branding. But I started thinking about the stuff that I could put in there, and I was like, okay, I could put in Blue Marlin merch. So like a hat, like a koozie. I use this koozie every day. I have two of them actually. There's another one in my bag over there.
Mhm.
So if I get use out of them, everyone else will too. And a pen because the pens are super nice. I could also put in a Blue Marlin branded support Florida locals sticker, right? To incentivize people who might be out of state to become a local. Um, and then I thought about, man, what what is something in there that I could put that is like makes it feel VIP? It's not just people who come get a special gift, but it's people who come in person or become VIPs, right? So you can look at this house online and schedule a showing and submit an offer and get the house, but you only become a VIP if you go to the open house in person. And the reason that's important is because if there's someone in front of me shaking my hand, I can sell myself to them and introduce myself to them.
Mhm.
But if they hear about me online or something like that, it's not as tangible. So I want to get people in the door. Also, even if people come just for the gift and aren't serious buyers, I can still leverage that as saying my open houses get X number of people to come through. If I get a lot of people to come through, I can leverage that in promotions to say, hey, use me as your real estate agent. My mega open houses get an average of X number of people, right? Which is another selling point. And also, if people come to the mega open house and they see how good of a job I'm doing at helping sell this person's house, they might want to use me to sell their house too,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm trying to make a really big discrepancy between the open houses I'm doing for other listing agents, because obviously I'm not going to spend all this money to try to help another agent get a sale, right? Because if it's my listing, then I can double end the deal if I find a buyer. or I can get someone who wants to help sell. It's going to cost a lot of money to do these open houses, so it has to make money doing it, right? Um, so I'm trying to think of other things that I can add. One of the things that I'm thinking about, what does it mean to be a VIP member to a real estate agent? Because I can promise to pick up the phone every time you call, and I can promise a 24-hour response time for everything, but like every real estate agent's going to offer that, right? What can I offer that is more valuable? And so then I started thinking, okay, I could offer early access to listings that I haven't publicly announced yet. And this gets tricky because it's illegal. It's illegal to announce a listing you don't have yet. So for example, the people that live in my parents' neighborhood, right? Who like we've been trying to get a listing appointment in lockdown for like fucking 2 months, right? And like it keeps getting delayed. I can't go advertise to people and say, hey, I have a house coming on the market soon. I can't even be as vague as house in Rockledge. That's a 3-bed, 2-bath. I can't even say that. I can't make any promises that there's something coming soon if I don't have a listing agreement signed.
Mm,
Once I have a listing agreement signed, I can start marketing it.
yeah.
But as soon as I market it publicly, I have 1 day, 24 hours to get it on the MLS. Once it's on the MLS, Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, all the websites that regular people use to surf houses get the listing. So essentially, it's launched as soon as it's on the MLS, right? Um, Ideally, I want to sign a listing agreement, get all my photos and stuff like that taken care of. That takes maybe like a week or two, and then start whisper tease shouting on social media. So I want like a 1 or 2 week buffer period in which I don't have to put it on the MLS because I haven't technically launched the listing yet, right? In that time frame, I can market a listing as coming soon without super specific details if I file an MLS exclusion or extension clause to my local MLS. I'm still getting familiar with the rules on this, so I haven't actually implemented
Mm,
any of this yet for like regulatory reasons. I haven't done this. I still have to get comfortable with it. But there is a way to share privately, not publicly, upcoming listings once I have a listing agreement signed. So you want to sell your house. I tell you I need 2 weeks to get the photos and videos taken care of before we post anything online, right? To promote the open house that's a week after that.
yep.
So in that time, I can go to my private buyers and say in a one-on-one conversation with them, I have a house that's coming on the market in Rockledge. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath. Would you be interested? Here's an invite to the open house, or I'll put you on an email list to get all the information as soon as the listing goes live. You have early access, right? That's what makes these people VIPs. So when they open their gift box, I'm going to have like a little like gold foil reflective, like golden ticket that says, you're now a VIP. Here's what's tricky. I can't put coming soon listings on a website because that's technically public, because people, even if it's behind like an access code or even like a custom username password deal, right? Username password deal, I don't want to deal with setting up a website like that. I don't want to deal with managing people who forget their password. I don't want people to have to put in a password every time they want to see what kind of houses I have available, right? Ideally, I'd like to have an access code that gives you access on my website that's easy to remember, like VIP or something like that, that gets you in to look at it, right? But technically, that's not allowed. So here's my workaround. Listings that I have on the MLS that are no longer coming soon and are publicly marketed, but have not had their mega open house yet. So my active listings will be on my website, available for
Mm,
available for VIPs. Available for everybody will be all of the listings that I've already hosted the mega open house for. We didn't get an offer that closed, and now I have to go into my like marathon, not a sprint marketing campaign. Those will be on my website for everybody. But the ones that I haven't held a mega open house for, VIPs get access to. And VIPs are I get their email by signing into this thing. I get their email in which when I have a coming soon house, I'll send them personally an email that I have a 3-bed, 2-bath house in Rockledge coming soon. Heads up. Let me know if you're interested. And we can
yeah.
start talking about it before I even market it to on Instagram and stuff like that before the mega open house. So I'm starting to build out this framework.
Yeah.
Right? You can kind of see where I'm going. In the box, I also want to have Blue Marlin custom branded buyers and sellers guides. So implying, hey, if you're interested in buying a house, but maybe not this open house you're at right now, I can help you find another one. Here's what the process looks like. Or if you want to sell your house with me, here's the same deal. It's also not uncommon for people to put scratch off lottery tickets in
Hmm.
like gifts and stuff for brokers opens. So brokers open is where, okay, I'm a real estate agent and I fucking cannot get this house sold, right? My broker will say, hey, we're going to have a brokers open where we invite all Blue Marlin real estate agents to come through the house and like, take a look at it and see if they have a buyer that might be interested to help get the house sold, right? So a broker's open is helping real estate agents who can't get it done. And that happens for a lot of different reasons, right? It's not always like the real estate agent isn't doing a good job. But they'll include scratch off lottery tickets, right? And so then I started to play with wording. This is like, behind the scenes in the depths of my rat's nest mind type shit. So like consider this to be rambling. Nothing of this is going to stay, or not all of it's going to stay. But I started thinking about wording like serving you as our client is like winning the lottery, or working with you is like winning the lottery, or something like that. Does feel kind of cheesy to me. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I do like the idea of having a scratch off ticket though, because there's some type of excitement or thrill involved with that. And so then I was talking to ChatGPT about this, and it suggested doing a raffle. And I was like, I think that's an illegal lottery. And ChatGPT clarified and it said, no, it's an illegal lottery if you have to pay to enter, or if you have to give certain amount of information to enter, right? If you make it free to enter, you can market it as a giveaway for anybody who comes to the open house in person. And I was like, oh, so I can like have little slips of paper that I give to people and say, hey, we're doing a giveaway for, I don't know, $100 gift card to a local restaurant, a Yeti cooler, a hat. I don't know. I can pick different stuff, right? We're doing a raffle or a giveaway. I'm sorry. You have to say giveaway, not raffle. So just put your name and contact information down so that I know how to get in contact with you. And then on the ticket, it'll say, contact information isn't mandatory, but it's how we reach our participants. So if you're not going to stay until the end of the open house when we do the drawing, which no one is, unless you happen to be there toward the end, then give you your contact information, right? That is a way more creative way to get someone's email than having a sign-in sheet, or by blocking them at the door before they leave and forcing them to give you their email like Tyler does, right? It's seduction, not rape, like Hormozy says when it comes to sales, right? Um, uh, so I thought that was a really cool idea. You just have to clarify it's not necessary to win to include your email. And then the final idea that I have here that I'm still like, I'm still working shopping. I came up with this last night. That's why I was up till 3 a.m. Um, this is my favorite thing. This is my big one. Okay. I want to be the real estate agent. I want to be your single point of contact for fucking anything related to housing and living, right? So who are some people that you have had to call living in the duplex when you've had problems?
Plumber, HVAC specialist.
Yep.
My actual landlord.
Right. Stuff like that.
Yeah, the guy who did the window, I think I have his contact. So 4 people in total, including the landlord.
Right. So I want to be the guy that you call when there's a problem, and you go, "Hey, what's an interesting problem that you haven't had yet? Hey, my garage door opens fine, but then it gets stuck at the top, and I have to fuck with it and drag it down. I don't know what's
There's a
going on."
problem that I have.
Yeah, I've got
Great example. Let's go for
It's a
it.
great example. I've got this issue. Do you have someone that can help me? I want to be the guy that goes, yeah, talk to Jimmy with Garage Door Openers TM. He's a good guy. He'll help you out, right? So, interestingly, I already have a contact of someone who owns a garage door company in Brevard, and I know them personally. I also, through reaching out to people I went to high school with, know someone who works at a moving company, and he and I have agreed to refer business to each other. So here's my idea. When you open your gift box, one of the sheets of paper is a list of companies. Here's my list: moving company, lender, title company, general home inspector, plumbing inspector, wood destroying organisms like termite inspector, roofing company, a handyman who like kind of fixes whatever if the plumber can't get there, or like you've done a weird thing, right? A flooring company, a window and door installation and repair company, a garage door opener company, an insurance broker. I actually have one that I like, Goosehead Insurance through Blue Marlin. So it's like, hey, I have an insurance question about anything. You call them, and then they direct you to their recommended insurance people. It's a one-stop shop for me when it comes to insurance because they have everybody, right? An electrician, a plumber, an HVAC company, a pest control company, a wildlife removal company. I also know someone there. A pool cleaner and pool designer and installation company, a fireplace company, a kitchen and bath remodeler company, a painting company, a landscape and tree trimming company, a cleaning service, junk removal and dumpster company, security and alarm system installation and repair company, internet and cable provider, locksmith, appliance repair, water softener and filtration company, solar panel installation, gutter cleaning and installation, fence company, pressure washer company, screen enclosure company, storage pod company for moving, CPA and tax pro. That list of all these companies, right? I have the company name, like I just read out, then the actual company name, right? And a person that you can talk to there or something. And then I have a percent discount. 10%, like contact the wood destroying organism inspector for a 10% off discount. Contact my pool guy for a 25% off discount. Talk to my roofing guy for a 5% off discount, right? All these discounts applied, right? And then I say, if you become my client, I give you the client code that you go to these companies and give them the client code and they give you these discounts. So when you open the gift box for coming to the open house, you automatically get for free all of these recommended companies, which is a big deal because a lot of people, like if you don't know who to call for plumbing, this gives you the answer to that, right?
Yeah.
But if you want the discount, and I tell you what the discount is, you have to be a client with me. So if you and I sign a buyer broker or seller's closure agreement, you're now a client and I give you the discount code and you can go use all of these discounts, right? I thought that was a really fun thing
Yeah.
to add in that box. So these are the things that I'm starting to come up
yeah.
with when it comes to the mega open house. And so I'm still polishing and I'm still adding. I want to really thoroughly get the gift box together. I want to add more stuff to the open house. Like I want it to feel like an event when you arrive. I don't want it to feel like a standard open house. So I want like flags to put in the front yard or like a sign or something. Um, I don't know, the valet. I want to think of some crazy shit, right, to add to that. And then I need to come up with like an actual like play-by-play marketing strategy to hype up the mega open house and make sure that people attend. And then I need to have a contingency strategy for if it doesn't close at the open house, what we do for the following weeks and for how long. So for one of my guarantees that I am planning on making is I'll guarantee you an open house every week for 6 months, right? Or something like that. And then people go, oh, wow, okay, well, if it does take a long time to sell, then I guarantee get an open house for 6 months, right? But you only get a mega open house once. I also want to think of a more clever name than mega open house, but I also want custom open house signs that say mega open house on them so that you know driving around. I want people to start to know Mason's mega open houses are worth going to. You get a free hat, a free box every time, right? Um, so that's the kind of stuff I'm coming up with. But that is what I'm going to spend the following week, this week, doing is coming up with my marketing strategy and marketing plan. So that when I do call people, I can say, hey, I've helped a lot of buyers. Here's my plan on selling a house. But that's my business update.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I dig it. Making some progress.
Yeah. What are your lessons learned this week?
My lessons learned. I think I went over. I think mine were more networking specific this week, just because of the nature of my week. But 4D lesson in terms of say what you can say and show what you can show, right? Definitely a 4D lesson in that respect. Just tell the truth, continue, reaffirmation in that lesson, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I'd say that volume is a reaffirmation of the lesson of like volume is definitely king. Like,
Yeah.
if you can just continue to crank out work, you will get better and you will see the fruits of that. You just have to continue to do it.
Right.
Like I talked to many people. So one thing I did during the conference that I didn't mention in my update, but one thing I did was I talked to other business owners, and if they were in an unrelated business, I tried to figure out how they advertise. And I was I wouldn't say surprised, but my eyes were open to how little some people advertise for like relatively big businesses. And like they would have a constraint where they're like, I'm not at capacity yet and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, how do people find out about you? And they're like, well, I don't really know. And I was like, okay, well, do you run any paid advertising or organic content? And they're like, yeah, we post organically. I was like, okay, cool. And they're like, we also do some paid advertising. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, how much do you post organically? And they're like, 3 times a week. And I was like, okay. And I was like, how much do you spend on paid advertising? And they were like $50 a month. And I was like, okay.
I know how you get to capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, the amount that you are inputting, although a good start, is not close enough to the volume that you need in order to acquire sufficient data to understand where your leads are actually generated from.
Right.
And so I was like, just do more, right? And so like that's definitely like was a 4D lesson for me because like I do a decent amount, and I think I should still do a lot more. It's just about like the capacity at which I can do more, right? I started at the point where I was like 5 ads a week feels like a lot, and then I was at the point where I was like I can make 10 ads a week, but like it feels like a lot, a lot, a lot. Now I can very comfortably with the new kind of like shifting bodies into hooks and developing tests that way. I can comfortably make like 20 to 30 ads a week,
Right.
right? And so I'm at that point where it's like 30 ads a week, like that's decent. I would really like to be at double that with quality.
Right.
And so now I'm trying to get to the point where it's like, how do I develop a framework where I can double that and really put out consistently and also test them effectively? So it's not just like I'm throwing stuff out there and then I have like nothing to go off of.
Right.
And part of that testing effectively comes down to one of the things I learned this week is that like the testing is so volatile. Like I tested advertisements in a separate campaign. The advertisements in terms of what got spend and what got lower spend was completely different than what got higher spend or lower spend when I tested the same ads within my main umbrella campaign. Um, and also the metrics were completely different as well. Like the hook rates may have still been better, or the whole rates may have still been better, but the CPMs and the cost per million, the cost per click, and you know the frequencies at which people saw them, you know, like all those would like different ads would fall into a different place.
Right.
And so that was really interesting to see. But one thing that I'm thinking about doing, I did a test where I pushed forced spend onto ad sets within my umbrella campaign. And I did another test like that this week where I forced spend onto ads within this was a slightly different variant on that, but I had a separate campaign where I forced spend onto the ad sets initially during the week. I had a $150 budget and I said, okay, I have 4 ad sets. I'm going to push $25 on each of them and give Facebook the freedom to spend the last 50 out at once. And so then I forced it to spend $25. And then the next day I threw it down to $15. And then for the remaining 3 days, I threw it down to 0. Facebook could just do it at once. And that was nice because I was able to get metrics on each one, like forced spend, like just to see how it does.
Right.
And then trickle that down and then let Facebook do its thing.
Right.
And kind of see how things optimize from there. And so what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I liked that framework of testing. What I think I'm going to do now, one of my lessons learned kind of more tactically is in order to acquire data, I think it is valuable to have it within the framework that it will be optimized in. And so I want to be able to get good data on it and get good spend and get a chance for that. And I want to know that that ad set has a chance to win. That's part of my big problem with the umbrella campaign. It's like, I don't think that it's getting enough spend. So I don't have full confidence that Facebook really knows exactly like, or at least exactly what the winner is. Even if Facebook does know, I don't know what's working and not working because the metrics are so volatile.
Right.
And so I want to push spend on the tests that I have, at least to some extent, like $10 for the first 2 days or first day,
Right.
just to get like a baseline for each, see how they're performing against each other, and then let Facebook do its thing. Just to kind of, I want to test that to see how it works on fresh creatives, fresh tests.
I'm so curious what would happen if you started a whole new everything fresh and then you put your newest ads and your winning ad in the same campaign, starting from 0 with no information.
Well, I have done that, but not with the winning ad with no engagement data on it.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, like starting the winning ad with 0 engagement data on it and
Yeah,
then all the other ads.
everything at ground zero. Like the video you showed me last week and the winning ad that you showed me last week, like just the videos, no data, fresh.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it would take forever to like get the sales up and get the data up. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, it's something I could test for sure. I'd be curious about it. So I have another ad account that I could test it with that's like in the background as a backup. But it's already run the winning ad before, and so it would probably
Prioritized.
right? Like it's not gonna be clean.
Yeah.
Even if we did the engagement data within that, just by like creating a new ad with that same video, like it'll probably prioritize that just because of its history.
Yeah.
It is a good question.
Yeah.
So part of my lesson learned coming out of the conference and this week of testing is that I have some direction to people to talk to understand the testing and the framework.
Right.
Some more inputs, more feedback. So I think most of my lessons learned for that will come from this coming week of like the 5 meetings or so that I have.
Right.
Actually, something I totally forgot to mention, I didn't write it down on the sheet yet, was I had some very compelling conversations with business owners that had like businesses that were worth like a few million, but they hadn't really gotten into paid ads much. Like they were spending like very, very, very little and doing very, very little content. And so
How are they making their money?
just either through referrals or they bought an existing business that's advertised on like or just has a listing on Google just through Google Maps. Like, oh, people know it exists, so they come, right? Like
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like they just kind of like whatever
Established
feeds off through, they just but they're trying to grow and scale, but they're not really running any sort of like
So did they ever
marketing yet.
did they have recurring customers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. So it's like a restaurant where
Yeah.
it's there, but like got it. I see.
And it's like listed as a location on Google, but they don't run any ads, right? So people would just go Google search like, oh, seems nice. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go, right? Those people, I was talking them through just like kind of like the premise that I work through on ads and the materials that I have and what I've done.
Right.
I can't believe I forgot to mention that. I didn't write it on the sheet, that's why I didn't mention it. But one of the things I did during the conference that was also a high leverage point was if people were in a different industry than me but had questions about advertising, I said, hey, I am not a king advertiser by any means.
Right.
I have some established frameworks into creating ads that I think are effective and that I've tested to at least push the needle forward in some respect. I'll send you that material after the conference. And so
Right.
that was like a good way to connect, get their email, stuff like that, right? A few of those people like really expressed a lot of interest in wanting to understand it further. I sent them a wealth of material, very similar to like similar stuff to what I sent you initially when you were getting into paid ads as well.
Yeah.
I sent them that material, and a few of those people I have calls with this coming week. It would be an interesting if I can get a few of those people to want to like work with me long term. It would be interesting to do a ROI on that and be like, if I quit my job and I had 40 extra hours a week, how many hours a week would I need to work in order to present enough value to someone to where they could pay me to where I could support myself? Maybe not equate the income from my job, but support myself and get like even 20 hours a week back in time.
Right.
So that's like a math equation that I'm going to try and figure out this coming week.
Right.
But I don't want to distract myself with something that is outside of the business. So I wouldn't be willing, unless it's like paying something silly, I wouldn't be willing to do like continuous conference calls unless I could afford to quit my job.
Right.
Because then I can trade 20 hours a week to just do that, which is still in business, and get 20 hours a week back.
The math is pretty simple, right? So we make like 35 an hour. So,
Yeah.
if you want 20 hours a week back, you have to double that per hour. So you've got.
Well, I only really need, I need $2,000 to survive a month. Like that's what I need to survive per month. Like just really, really base level. Because Sammy helps out a lot with like the groceries and the other stuff like that. And like my
That covers
food
ads
goes-
and stuff too? And
well, the
credit card payments?
business is profitable right now.
Okay. So that's covering credit card payments too.
Yes. So that's I haven't started paying off any of the credit card. I have.
But you can make the minimum payments.
Oh yeah. I can make them. I haven't been paying off any of the credit cards because I'm letting the money accumulate in the account, and then what I do is like I have the next week already prepaid in my ad account, so I have like $3,500 that's just sitting over there,
Right.
in my ad account, and then I also have like $1,000 sitting in the business account. So I don't pay any of the cards off.
Got it.
I just front the money into the ad account because I know that if I can prepay on ads, then that's like my highest lever. So I might as well just prepay that and not worry about the other stuff too much.
Right. Gotcha.
So that's what I've been doing. And then the money in my personal bank account, I've been using to pay off or I've paid off for a while, and I continue to pay the card that has APR on it. And then I trickle that into my personal. and I'm slowly letting that accumulate. And so I have like 2.5, 3 grand right now in that, and that's been building slowly
Okay.
from like every 2 weeks when I get paid, and then I
Right.
pay a couple things off, and then whatever.
Right.
So I have the business is floating itself right now right now,
Mhm.
which is really, really good news. And I'm wondering how much I'm doing like a math equation, and also like a kind of risk assessment of how much do I bank on versus how much do I not bank on.
Right.
Kind of the set I've gone to is, if once the business can pay off the business debts, and once I'm at a place where the business is making 150% of what I make at my current job, so like 6 grand a month
Right.
before taxes. Once the business makes 6 grand a month, I've paid off my debts. At that point, it makes sense for me to transition over.
Mhm.
And so the equation I have kind of in my head is, okay, well, if the business makes 3 to 4 right now per month, around that, and I'm paying off some debts, if I get something on the side where I'm still involved in business, I'm just doing marketing or advertising advice or helping out on this end of things.
Mhm.
If that can do 2 grand,
Then you can cover the
I
gap and
I
quick.
accumulate my 6 that I need.
Got it. I see what you're saying.
So it's like I
I thought you were saying you only like need $2,000 to live. Period. And I was like, that's
I need I
crazy.
need I need a
That's
w
like
I
that's rent and water.
no, I need
Yeah.
more than that, but, like, I would need 2 grand out of a job
Right. To cover.
to cover and stabilize to the point where I feel comfortable in my spot.
Right. Right.
Um And so I'm kind of looking at that, and it's like it would be a cut from my 9 to 5, but it could also be a lot of my time back.
Right.
So I'm just gonna take this week to kind of assess that and see how things pan out.
Yeah. See how the
Um,
calls go.
yeah, see how things go, and I might do some kind of like a framework building from that perspective of like kind of what I would want to do and how. Just
Mhm.
kind of thinking about that. And I'm not gonna make any stupid or rushed decisions on it.
Mhm.
I'd want to see history and consistency through it, whatever I choose. And the job is stable right now. I think part of why I'm thinking about this too is that I know how atrocious the 9 to 5 schedule is going to be as we get closer and closer to launch.
Mhm.
And it's also coming into the
Really
fourth
think
quarter.
you really think you guys are gonna watch?
Well, I don't think we're going to launch in February, but the
Speed.
problem is that management thinks we're going to launch in February. So the working
So
shift is going to sustain until we launch.
January through fucking
No, it's gonna be
November,
like
gonna suck.
November. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Sorry. Yeah. January through November.
Like in prep for launch in February, like November through February through when you actually launch next November is gonna suck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that rides right over the fourth quarter of the year. I read Clavio put out the statistic, and email marketer put out the statistics. They said that 25% of all e-commerce transactions happen between the months of November and December, which essentially means
Wow,
that
crazy.
there's a 2x lift just by working during November and December,
Right.
not doing anything different, just operating in November and December, you get a
Right.
2x lift.
Right.
And so I'm trying to plan this out a little bit ahead and play my cards strategically so that I can lend myself the opportunity to really leverage those 2 months.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, well, what value can I offer? What can I bring to the table that would supplement enough of my current 9 to 5 income where I could quit, dedicate some percentage of my current 9 to 5 hours to that thing as like a job replacement,
Right.
but then also have more time to grow my business. And the benefit of that would be if I'm working with other people on their business to just help them get going with advertising, even if I'm doing something stupid like making advertisements for them,
Mhm.
I'm still building my skills and getting better within business, which is like would help me with my own business inherently because I'm in the same field all the time.
It's still related
Yeah.
work.
So even if it's related work, like I'll build the advertisements for you, or I'll help you find X, Y, and Z, or I'll try to make this connection for you. Like
Right.
even just like kind of like a grunt work style of employee,
Right.
right? If I can add enough value in there and it's less than 40 hours per week and it gets me an extra 2 grand a month,
Right.
I can justify supporting myself coming into this
No.
last part of the year.
Right.
Right. And so that's kind of the frame I'm shifting it with.
Yeah.
I don't need to provide some crazy value. I just need, or I mean, I can, but I got a framework build out. So kind of a lesson learned is kind of relearning or re-reminding, I guess you could say, is being able to play your cards strategically in order to leverage yourself the best coming into your high leverage points in the business,
Right.
right? Because if I could have 20 hours a week back, I could double down on the advertisements. I could
Right.
just 2x the advertisements without even changing anything about my structuring and how I build ads.
Right.
I could do that. And then on top of that, if I have some income coming in and some income flowing, like I can still pay for the advertisements to work, right? So there's a balance in that sense. So there's a couple things that I'm thinking about in that respect.
My thinking is that your strength and skill point right now isn't in making ads so much as it is managing Facebook Meta.
Yeah.
Whereas fashion girl's skill set is making ads and yours is running Facebook, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if you guys could partner together, or if you could go to a business and say, hey, you film ads and then I'll run the ads on Facebook for you. So
Mm,
like you give me the money to put into Facebook and then my fee, and then I'll
yeah.
run all this shit for you and bring you people in, but you have to make the advertisements, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not responsible for if they actually convert or not. I'm responsible for not getting you flagged on Facebook and having them run and giving you advice on what you should do.
Yeah. That's a great point too. And I could also leverage the Excel spreadsheets that I've already made for myself to do
Yeah.
this.
And so the same business owner that I talked about the other day, earlier today, um, I was talking about how, oh yeah, I'm not running Facebook ads right now, because it's costing more money than it's making me and more money than I have right now. So I need to make a sale, and then I'll use that money to funnel all into Facebook ads, and I'll rely on that to bring me my next sale. And in the meantime, I can get better with videography and
Hmm.
editing and stuff. So I have an ad worthwhile that'll actually bring people
Yeah.
in when I have the money, right? And he was like, "Oh, dude, why don't you just like run a Facebook ad at like $2 a day? Because that's like $60 a month." And I'm like, "Well, that's not going to bring anyone in." He was like, "Yeah, it is. Look." And he was like, "Let me show you this." And so he pulled up the Facebook ads account, like the analyses for the previous 60 days on one of his businesses. And he was like, "Look, it put it in front of 50,000 people, and that's all local people." And I was like, "Yeah, but how many?" Like he was like, "Look, I only spent like $100." And I was like, "Yeah, but how many of those people actually came in?" And he was like, "Dude, people come in all the time from it." And I was like, "Do you have like a promo code that you put in the ad that people use when they come in?" He was like, "No, it's just like, word of mouth. Like I hear people talk about like, oh, I saw the ad or whatever, and like new customers." And I was like, "Well, wait, you can't guarantee that new customers are coming because of your ad, right? And how do you know that it's actually a return on your investment, that you're spending this money and making these ads and paying for it on Facebook, if you can't guarantee that that's where people came from, right? Like
Mm,
add an identifier in there from somewhere, right? But also, I'm not making Facebook ads for exposure. I'm making Facebook ads to get clients. Exposure is cool as a byproduct, but if I'm spending money, I want it to be converting, and I need to know that it's converting.
yeah.
So I convert by collecting phone numbers or email and contacting those people, or having those people contact me, or coming to my mega open house. But if you just have people come through your business and like maybe sometimes mention a Facebook ad, dog, you don't meet every customer. So like at best you're getting word of mouth, right?
Yeah.
And so that's not how that works. But you could really easily go to a business like that and be like, hey, how many people, like, what is your ROI on your Facebook ads? And they'll go, oh, I think it's XYZ. And you'll go, cool, prove it to me. And then they won't. And then you'll be like, listen, here's how this is actually supposed to work. And then you like lay it out. And then that's how you sell your Facebook.
Yeah.
Because knowing how to run Facebook ads is valuable, right? Like, yeah, fuck, real estate agents is a great way to do it. Don't do it because I'm a real estate agent. But like, if I got to the point that I was spending all my time with clients and I didn't want to deal with running Facebook ads, I would easily pay someone like you to say, hey, here's the video that I made for my videographer. Just put it on Facebook ads and make it money. Right? Like,
Yeah.
it happen.
Yeah. And so part of my thing is thinking, how can I involve myself more in business?
Yeah.
And also maybe get some of my time back and learn in the meantime.
Right.
And that part of this thinking also comes from Hermosi was talking on a podcast the other day, and he was like, if you're in a job that you hate right now and you don't feel like you're wanting anything, just quit. I guarantee that whatever you are thinking will be better than the job that you currently hate. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to quit the income,
Right.
but what ideas could I brainstorm that would be different from my 9 to 5 that I could bet on being better in that respect?
Right.
And I was like, something related to business. And I was like, I don't want to go and jump fields completely and work for a marketing agency, although I would be open to that. I could do that. I don't know if I have the leverage or skill. It's something I've thought about, but I do have a lot of I do work really well one-on-one with people and dive into problems really well and
Right.
try to get them the best answer that they possibly could. And I was like, I could leverage that skill and also like leverage the conversations I have with those people.
Right.
So
It's
I
consulting.
yeah, almost like consulting, but I would try to approach it with a much more tactical, like, I'll tell you how I think we should move forward. And then on top of that, I'll help you move forward rather than like a lot of consulting, which is like, I'll tell you how I think you should move forward. Good luck.
Right.
Right. And so trying from that perspective, and I have to pair it with like my time for consulting is not worth $1,000 an hour, right?
Right.
But I think I could provide some value from like a tangible perspective. Like I will actually help you physically do this,
Right.
and also here's my take based on everything that I've learned so far,
Right.
and niche it down to one specific thing that I can actually deliver on effectively.
Right.
So like that combination, I feel like I could do effectively for a price point that's more affordable than someone who's worth like, $1,000 or $10,000 an hour.
Right.
Right.
You could also do your weekly calls next week, or like, do the call with the Cybertruck fashion lady and say, hey, have you done this before? Like, have you been paid for your time before? And when she says yes, ask her how it went and ask for information. But also at the end of your like pseudo consulting appointments next week, do the whole appointment. And then at the end, when people are like, wow, that was really helpful, you could say, how much would you pay for a call like this again? And
Yeah.
then go from there.
That's kinda how I was gonna approach the fashion lady
Yeah.
who's, doing it. I was like, I'll do the call with her, kinda break a few things down. She sent me some pointers of what to bring to the meeting, and then I'll be like, "What do you where would you feel comfortable at per hour to do this once a week?"
Right.
And then kinda just work it from there, because 'cause I'm not really sure, where she's at with it, and I'm not 100% sure where I'm at with it, but I know, my anchor point is like I know that someone with 20 years of experience in as a marketing director for the biggest companies around charges $300 an hour because that's
Right.
what they charge on the net.
Right.
So I know that that's like my anchor point. So it's like 20 years of experience, biggest companies in the world, $300 an hour.
Right.
How do I leverage that against this person?
Right.
Right. And so that's kind of like my anchor point. But that would be my lessons learned is continuing the pursuit of growth and also like working more. I was thinking about this week. It's like the one thing that very consistently has always produced an ROI is just working more. Like I've never worked more and been like, man, I really regret that.
Mhm.
Like that's never ever been a case for me. And so it's like it's really cool that like that is like one consistent thing that I can count on. It's like if I just do more and put in more effort, I will learn something even if I fail, and therefore the time is always valuable.
Right.
And so
If you charge $100 an hour, you do 20 calls a month, you get your 2,000. So 20 calls a month is 5 calls a week.
yeah, yeah.
It's not bad.
Five
That's an hour a day.
Yeah,
Every working day.
very, very much not bad. And even then, it's like I could do an hour-long call and then like a 2-hour implementation session
Right.
a day for $100, and that would be the
Right.
same.
Then you just need either like recurring clients that pay once a week or once a month, and then you sort it out.
Mhm. Yeah. But part of what I try to do is I send all the advertising material, or not all of it, because I have so much more that I could say. But I put a lot of density into the email, all the content, right?
Right.
I mean, it's dense.
Yeah.
And so I put that all out there because I want them to go, holy shit, like this is a lot of stuff for free,
Right.
right? You know what I mean? Kind of like your free stuff should be killer, essentially.
Right.
Right.
I mean, direct them to the podcast.
And I have even more killer stuff that I can send them, and tons more stuff that I like just couldn't type up in an email because it would just be 40 pages.
Dude, send them the podcast and say, skip to Sanders business update for literally any episode you want. And then if you want more of that and tailored to your business, then I'll $100 an hour
Yeah, yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, something like that. So I'm just thinking about offers like that and
That
stuff.
feels doable.
But
Excuse me, it feels doable.
yeah, it's just kind of something I'm brainstorming. We'll see how it develops.
Yeah.
But what is your life and business lessons learned this week?
I don't have a good one. I was thinking about one this morning and like I couldn't really figure it out. But there's a Hormozy quote that I've been kind of thinking about this week. And I don't think it's directly applicable, but it's another equation. It's V times S equals O, which is volume times skill equals outcome.
Mm.
And I have been focusing a lot on volume the past few weeks in the people database where I was like, how do I get as many people to call as possible? So I got all of the people from high school's phone numbers. I'm working with someone else who's a software guy. Um, I think we actually might both know him. I'll tell you off camera. He's a cool dude, but he's a programmer and works with AI tools. And he is putting together a list of people in Brevard County who are late on their property taxes or about to be foreclosed on or evicted, right? And that could actually be really good information to bring buyers to the novation agreement guy, because I can
Mhm.
say, hey, here's people who are in a point of pain about to be evicted. We could help them out.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, I'm now establishing a really solid base for like accumulating volume of people to call. And I have started to implement volume by calling people from the Facebook leads. But my hesitation is on lighting my good leads on fire, right? So like once I have the foreclosure people ready to go or eviction people ready to go, and I talk to the novation guy and I got a solid offer ready, I can crank those phone calls one by one. Most of them, they're just going to hang up on me and get angry anyways. But the ones that actually want to talk, I'm ready to talk to them, right?
Mhm.
The high school people, I now have a strategy to go crank through volume, but I'm I'm still not confident on the skill side of things. And by skill, I think what's really more applicable for me is quality, not
Mm.
skill, but quality. And the reason is because I have worked with many real estate buyers now, and I have the buying process down like the back of my hand. And I know a lot about the selling process, but I don't think I could confidently sit down and say with someone like, I can get your house sold in 1 week, because I haven't done it yet and I don't have a very clear strategy. And
Yeah.
so I want to market to both people, to buyers and sellers. I don't want to only work with buyers. I'd like to work with sellers, especially in the current market where it's difficult to get houses moved. Um, and that's all marketing. And I have a lot of marketing experience from, or information from listening to Hormozy and you through Facebook ads. And now I have experience with Facebook ads too,
Mhm.
limited with there. But I want a more solid product that I can rubber stamp and say, this is what it is, right? Most real estate agents in a listing appointment will talk about how hard they'll work, but I don't want to talk about how hard I'll work. I want that to be a given. I want to talk about what I'm going to do. Um, so like my friend in real estate who recently quit, he had a listing appointment a few weeks ago or a few months ago. I think I spoke about it on the pod. But he was like, yeah, I sat down on the listing appointment and I told them that, we've got Blue Marlin to leverage and we get like, 300,000 views a month or whatever. So like, I'll put your listing on there and get a ton of views, and like, I'll post it on social media and we'll do open houses. And then they decided to go with a different agent. Um, and so my thinking is, well, why would they go with a different agent, right? Because experience shouldn't matter, outcome should matter, right? Um, Age and experience doesn't mean anything to me. It's evidence that is more important, right? And so to me, that means that he didn't deliver the evidence very well. So it's either evidence that the CMA wasn't done properly and they think the house is worth more, or like you didn't do a good enough job getting them to see that the house isn't worth what it's worth, which is CMA related, or you didn't make a convincing argument that you can actually get the house sold, right?
Mhm.
And so I want a marketing plan, like I told you 20 minutes ago. Um, like if you sat down to get your house sold and someone was like, "We're gonna put it on Instagram. Blue Marlin gets 300,000 views of video. Like, we're gonna put it on the MLS and we're gonna put signs in the front yard and do open houses," right? Versus the pitch I gave you, which is still in like phase one.
Yeah.
Um, I feel that that's more compelling. And so I want something that is so compelling that it's like completely flabbergasting. And I want something that is not only compelling, but also going to generate me more business. Because it's one thing to get a house sold, and it's another thing to turn a listing into a second listing or third listing, right? And by having the mega open house, I think it's a great way to not only find buyers, which helps my client, but also gets me more clients, right? So volume times skill or quality equals outcome for Hormozy. I feel as though I'm not on the phone all day, every day doing volume. I don't want to waste my volume spinning my wheels. I want to apply it effectively.
Mhm.
Um, so it's kind of hypocritical. It's kind of hypocritical because I say I understand volume, even though I haven't sat down and done phone calls for 16 hours straight. Um, so I haven't done the volume, but I feel prepared for the volume, and I want to focus more on the skill beforehand. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, if you can throw darts at a dartboard all you want, but if you're sitting there blindfolded, you probably won't hit the dartboard, you
Right.
know? And so it's like the skill building is in removing the blindfold,
Right.
right? So you at least like know what you're trying to hit now. You have some framework,
Right.
right? It might not be perfect, but at least like you can see the dartboard, right?
Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
Um, And I feel it's all too common for real estate agents to get their license, kind of understand the bare minimum about paperwork, and then go sell themselves. And something that I learned
Yeah.
is it's not really about selling the real estate, it's about selling your personality as a service, right? But at the same time, you can sell your personality as a service, but you also have to get the fucking house sold,
Mhm.
right? Like at its core, that's what has to happen is you have to get the house sold. And as far as my personality goes, I'm hardworking and I'm honest, and I think that is hugely important in being in sales.
Yeah.
That's something I think that differentiates most salespeople from like car dealership sales guys, because most guys working at a car dealership are going to force dealership fees on you because it's their job, it's not their choice. So they're seen as like sleazy. And I understand that, but I don't want to be that type of salesperson. And that's entirely up to me.
Mhm.
So, you know, I feel like everybody preaches volume, volume, volume. Tyler tells me to get on the phone, like go subscribe to this $500 a month thing, like just make crazy phone calls. But like, what is the point in making a phone call if I don't have anything of actual value to give to you, right? And I recognize that my standards are higher than most, so I feel that I have about as much value to offer to most people as a lot of real estate agents do, but I'm not satisfied with that. I want more. So I don't want to make the phone call that the client has gotten 150 times from other real estate agents who have the same thing to sell.
Yeah.
I want something different. I want to differentiate my
Right.
offer. So this week has been more about clarifying my offer. Um, and emphasizing the skills component of that equation.
Very cool. I hear that. I hear that. Make an offer so good that people feel stupid saying no,
Yep.
or make an offer so good that people can't compare you to the competition.
Exactly. Right.
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 So,
That's all I got.
100%. Very cool. You got a dial in for us?
I do.
I didn't try to cut you off this week.
No,
Remember last week I was like, "What?"
I kind of remember it.
Yeah.
So this is about Charlie Kirk.
Yep.
It's a quote from Promozy, but I feel it's applicable to what happened this week. It goes, "If you attempt anything great, you will get hate. Period. But if the hatred comes from someone who represents the opposite of your values, then you're doing it right. Zero, and I mean zero, great people had zero enemies." That's all I got.
100%. Well, everyone, enjoy your coming week. Hopefully you are doing well and pursuing whatever you're pursuing. Continue to work hard and persevere, and you'll do great things. We will see you next time.